Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Venue. Please confirm that my voice is audible and the screen is visible to all. Good morning, Anurag, Shai, good morning. Okay. I request on YouTube also, those who are watching, please confirm that the voice is audible and the screen is visible to you all. Okay, thank you so much for confirmation. Good morning, Siri. Good morning, Subhash, Shraddha, Srishti, Mohit, Sumit. Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope I think everything is fine. So we can start with the session, right? Okay, before starting the session, I would like to do just a quick recap of the previous class that we have done. So the first class was Introduction to Agriculture. Okay, I have told you what are the important things that you have to learn from that particular chapter. So we have learned about what is agriculture, right? The definition of agriculture, then different branches of agriculture, which include your agronomy, horticulture, then your animal husbandry, forestry, fisheries, home science, right? So these were your branches of agriculture. Now, under horticulture, so also we have studied different branches, like your, okay, voice is bit low. Oh, so now is it fine? Kavya, now is it fine? Okay, okay. So yeah, in agronomy, sorry, not in agronomy, in that particular chapter, we have discussed about different branches of horticulture. So we have discussed about floriculture, or pomology, olericulture, then arboriculture, landscape horticulture, enology, post-harvest management, and viticulture, right? Now, now, after that we proceeded and we learned about different revolutions that has happened in India, and these what the terms are given to different commodity increase in production. Okay. After that, we have discussed about different personalities who have contributed in agriculture, and then we have summarized, we have ended the chapter with the important dates, right? So that was all about it, chapter number one. It was a very short and I would say factual type of chapter. So it is completed. Now let's start with the chapter two, that is agronomy and field crop, from where our core concepts of agriculture starts. Okay. Rohit, yeah, actually, this is the second class of your crash course. Yesterday was the orientation class, and along with the orientation, I have completed chapter number one. Okay, so this is the second class of your crash course. Okay, okay. So with that, we'll start and we'll understand about agronomy. Okay. So agronomy, okay. So I'll ask you here one thing. We have discussed agronomy in the previous chapter also. So can you please quickly type what is the meaning of agronomy? What do you understand by agronomy? Anybody? What we have learned about agronomy in the previous class? Please quickly type in the chat section. Yeah. Very good. Very good. So agronomy is what? We have learned that it is a branch of agriculture. It is a branch of agriculture dealing with field management. Okay. So if we see the origin of this term agronomy, it is derived from a Greek word. Okay. It has been derived from a Greek word, agros meaning field and nomos meaning management, right? So you have to learn this thing, that this term agronomy has been derived from a Greek word, which is agros, which is the meaning of agros is field, and nomos, the meaning of nomos is management. And hence, agronomy is about field management. Okay, the literal meaning of term agronomy is field management. Clear? Okay. Moving ahead to the definition of agronomy. What actually is the definition of agronomy? So, students, Agronomy is a branch of agriculture science. This we have discussed yesterday also. It is one of the branch of agriculture science, right? It deals with your principle and practices of crop production and field management. Okay. Now let us understand in detail what do we understand by these principles and practices and principle and practices of crop production and field management, right? So students, for example, I wanted to grow rice. Okay, I wanted to grow rice. Now, like this is something very usual that we think ki what we need in agriculture, we just need seed, we just need to sow it, and the seed will grow. But no, this this is not actually the reality. The reality is there are different principle and practices of growing each crop. Means principle and practices means there are different each crop is grown in different way. Okay, so there will be different practice for rice, there will be different practice for wheat. Simple example, if we take the example that in rice, transplanting, when we sow the seed of rice, transplanting is adopted. Okay, when we sow seed of wheat, we generally go for broadcasting or seed drills or other method. Okay, right now if these methods are not clear to you, don't worry, we'll be covering all these method in detail in seed and sowing chapter. Okay, but right now just to make you understand, just to give you one example, that the principle and practice means the techniques or the cultivation practice that we will adopt for rice will be different for another crop. Okay, the cultivation practices adopted for wheat will be different that we are adopting for pulses. Okay, so each crop have different principle and practices. Okay, we need to understand we need to understand each crop. Like we need to understand what is the growing temperature of each crop, in which season we can grow this crop, in which season this crop is harvested. Okay, when is the time when this particular crop need most when is the time when there is this particular crop need water, right? What is the critical stages basically where the requirement of water is high, right? What kind of nutrients should be applied? Yes, very good, Tanmay. What kind of nutrient should be applied to the rice? Because see, if I grow pulse, okay, if I grow pulse crop, so I have told you that pulse, what are pulses? Basically, pulses are crops which can fix atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, so pulses are themselves contributing, increasing nutrient content, right? So when we talk about fertilizer or nutrient, usually what is our fertilizer? NPK, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, right? So pulses are themselves fixing nitrogen. So when we grow pulses, we are not required to give nitrogen in that field, because pulses are themselves fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. We only give phosphorus and potassium and nitrogen to some smaller extent, not to the extent that we apply in rice and wheat. So from here what we understand, that each crop has different principle and practice of growing, right? Cultivation, right? So this agronomy branch deals with that principle and practices of crop production and field management. Also, students, see where we are growing these crops. These crops are grown on field, right? So this field needs to be managed. This field needs to be managed. Okay. गौरव जस्ट वेट आई विल आंसर दैट क्वेरी. ठीक है, अभी हम पल्सेस को, लेग्यूम्स को वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग इन डिटेल इन कमिंग स्लाइड. ओके, आई विल टेल यू. ओके, सो fields need to be managed. See, if field is well managed, if field has good amount of nutrient, if field has well pulverized soil, if field had good supporting conditions for seed to grow and support crop, then only the crop yield will be high, right? So what is agronomy? It is branch of agriculture science which deals with principle and practice of crop management, crop production and field management. Clear? I hope this definition is clear to all, and now you have understood what actually we mean by agronomy. Now this name we have learnt yesterday also, Pietro di Crescenzi, who is known as father of agronomy. Okay? Now there was one PYQ from here also, so you have to learn this. Okay? Father of agronomy is Pietro di Crescenzi. Clear? Okay, now students, in agronomy, what we are dealing with? We are dealing with crops, right? We are dealing with crops. So let us understand first what is the meaning of crops. Okay, what type of plants are called crops, right? So students, when we grow plant of same kind on a place for commercial or subsistence purpose, that is known as a crop. Now, if you grow any vegetable in your kitchen garden, that is also a crop, right? If any farmer grow rice or wheat on a very large scale for commercial purpose, that is also a crop, right? So when plants of similar kind, okay, you might have seen, you will not grow only one plant of, like, for say, if in your kitchen garden you are growing vegetable, right? So you will not grow just one plant of chili or one plant of ladyfinger. Okay, you will at least dedicate some amount of area for growing that vegetable, and you will grow the same seed, and some amount of plant will be there, right, which is of same kind. So when plants of same kind is grown for commercial or subsistence purpose, that is known as crop. Now, one question can arise: what is the commercial and subsistence purpose? So students, subsistence is basically subsistence is basically for uh, for for the consumption purpose of family, right? Like in kitchen garden, the crop that we grow in kitchen garden is for subsistence purpose, means that is to meet our family requirement. Okay, we are not going to sell this crop in the market, but but when we say that farmers are growing rice and wheat for commercial purpose, that means these farmers have grown these crop for selling purpose. Okay, they will sell this crop into the market and they will get some return, right? So subsistence is to just fulfill our own requirement, and commercial is for the selling purpose. Clear? I hope now this what is crop is clear. Okay, now once we have understood what is agronomy, dealing with field crops. Now we have understood what is crop. Now students, these crops are of different types. Okay, there are different types of crops, and we need to study all types. In this particular session, we'll understand what is the classification of crops based on different aspect, right? But before that, I wanted to tell you one broad general classification of crops, which is based on the which is based on the which is based on the uh, area in which we are growing crop, right? So this is basically based on the area on which crop is grown. Okay, how much area is dedicated for basically for that particular crop. Okay, now if I talk about, first we have garden crops. Sorry, we have garden crops. ठीक है, garden crops क्या होती हैं? What are garden crops? They are basically grown in your kitchen garden or backyard garden, right? When we dedicate a small area for growing some crops, that is your garden crop. Clear? So a very small area is dedicated to growing these crops, like your kitchen garden, flower garden, backyard garden. These crops are called garden crop, right? Next type of crop we have is field crop. Okay. Now students, the amount of area dedicated to field crop will be more than garden crop, and this field crops is grown for subsistence and commercial purpose. Means farmer can take some amount. Now, if one farmer is growing rice or wheat, it will be not like that 100% production that farmer is getting will be for sale. Some part of this crop will be kept for consumption purpose, also can be kept for consumption purpose, right? So basically, field crops are grown on large scale as compared to the garden crops, and they are grown for subsistence and commercial purpose. Okay, or only for subsistence or only for commercial purpose, either way it can be, right? So example is cotton, cereal, pulses. These all are field crop. Okay, these all are field crop. Now yesterday also I discussed with you the difference between field crop and horticulture crop. So here in agronomy we are only dealing with field crop. Okay, field crops, not horticulture crop, not any other crop, right? Not any plantation crop, right? So here we are only dealing with field crop. Moving next, we have plantation crop. Now, the area in which plantation crops are grown is far more than area which is dedicated to field crops, right? So plantation crops are grown in very large estates, right? And also students, these plantation crops are perennial in nature. Perennial in nature means they can we do not need to replant them, right? Like in case of field crops, what will happen? You have grown rice, right? After 6 months, you will harvest this rice. You can grow rice again or any other crop, right? So resowing is required. But once the plantation crops are established, like you might have seen tea garden, right? Once tea garden is established, you do not need to replant the tea crop, right? What you need to do once this garden is established, you just need to plug the produce, that is the tea leaves from that garden, right? So plantation crops are basically the perennial crops. So your tea garden, coffee garden, and coconut, right? And rubber, these are your plantation crops. Clear? And students, these plantation crops are not taken home for the consumption. They are rather taken to the industry for further processing so that they can be converted into useful product which can be consumed by people, right? So there is a difference. There is a difference between garden crop, field crop, plantation crop. Clear? I hope now it is clear based on scale of based on the area which we are growing a crop. We have these three classification. Okay. Okay, all those who are asking queries on YouTube, I request you to please let the session end. Okay. After session, I'll take your query one by one. Don't worry. I'll answer all the queries. Clear? Chalo. Moving ahead to the next. So now students, I have told you in agronomy what we are dealing with. We are deal we are dealing with mostly field crops, right? Field crops. Now, from here onward, we will specifically focus on field crops, right? So students, I have told you field crops क्या होती हैं. Now, field crops are again classified on the basis of different aspects, okay? Because there are so many crops, okay, and there are so many bases on which these crops can be classified, right? So if I talk about the classification that we are going to talk in this particular class, is first classification based on use of plant and their produce, okay? What is the use of that crop plant to us, and what produce we are getting from that crop plant? First classification, we are going to see this. Then classification based on season. In which particular season we are growing the crop, okay? And what is the difference between different season or crops grown in different season? Then classification based on climate we are going to see. Then classification based on ontogeny, which is life cycle we are going to see. Then classification based on mode of pollination, classification based on nutrient uptake, scientific or botanical classification, then depth and type of root system, carbon dioxide fixation, and special purpose classification. So we are going to learn about all these classification one by one. Okay. Chalo. First we have is based on use of plant and their product. Okay. So for in basically students, what plant what is the utility of that plant, or what kind of product we are getting from that particular plant. Based on that, we have further classified the crop into cereal crops, oilseed crops, green manure crop, pulse crop, fiber crop, sugar crop, commercial crop, and seed and spices and forage and condiments, right? Now let us discuss them one by one. What are they and what do we understand by these crops? चलो, first we have is cereals crop. ठीक है? Now students, what are cereals? Cereals are if you do not if you want to know just the generic example of cereals are basically the grains that we consume. Like we consume grain of wheat, grain of rice, okay, grain of barley, grain of oat, grain of sorghum. So these are grains. All your millets, these are also cereal crops, right? Where we are consuming the grain part of a plant. Clear? Now, to define cereal, basically these cereal crops, okay, that we are consuming, they belong to grass families, meaning that sorry, meaning that originally these cereals are from grass family. These are grasses only. Okay, these are grasses only. But as these grasses have some edible starchy grain in them, okay, these grasses are able to produce some kind of edible starchy grain in them. That's why, which, on these edible starchy grain can be consumed by humans and are, beneficial for humans. So that's why what humans have done, humans have started cultivating these grasses on a large scale. Okay, so basically all your cereals crop are belonging to grass family. Okay, they were originally grasses, but as these grasses are able to grow some kind of edible starchy grain, so now humans have brought these grasses under cultivation and then started growing these crops. So such crops are your cereal crops. Such crops are your cereal crops, right? Now, students, if I talk about examples of cereal crops, I have told you rice, wheat, maize, barley, sorghum, right? All your millets are example of cereal crops. Okay. Now, students, if we see these cereal crops are also the crops that we are consuming a lot, right? Rice and wheat is something which is our staple food, right? So they are consumed on very large scale also. Next, if I talk about type of cereal crops, so students, these cereal crops are further divided into two different categories. Okay? First, we have is cereal crops, and another we have is millet, or you can say major cereals or minor cereals. ठीक है? अब देखो major cereals और minor cereals is again based on the consumption by humans. So major cereals include your rice, wheat, maize, and minor cereals include all your millets. Because see, millets are not grown to that extent, because millets are not consumed to that extent that is consumed that we see for rice and wheat, right? तो राइस और व्हीट का कंजप्शन ज्यादा है, इसीलिए वो मेजर सीरियल्स है, राइट? और माइनर सीरियल्स क्या हो गई आपकी मिलेट्स, क्योंकि वहां पे कंजप्शन जो है कम है, राइट? सो दैट्स व्हाई दे आर कंसिडर्ड माइनर सीरियल्स. क्लियर? Just understand what are cereals and their examples is very, very important, and learn millets are also part of your cereals. Okay, coming to the pulse crop. Now I'll answer the query that how this pulse crop fix atmospheric nitrogen. ठीक है? So students, basically what are these pulses? Pulses are grain legume. Pulses are grain legume. Okay. So these pulses are grain legume used for food. Let's come to the word legumes. What is legumes? So students, this legume term has been derived from Latin word which means together. Okay, which means together. Now, what happens basically in these legumes? So when we say a crop is legume, so that particular crop have some special ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, so in atmosphere we have nitrogen, right? Then what these crops do basically, in the roots of these crops, there are nodules. There are some nodules present, okay? So the root will have small nodules, and inside these nodules, there resides a bacteria which is known as rhizobium. Okay? So rhizobium resides inside the root nodules of these legumes, and this rhizobium bacteria fix atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, so basically students, if we see, this is a symbiotic association. This is a symbiotic association. What is symbiotic association? Basically, where both the both the parties are benefited. Okay, here this rhizobium bacteria is getting shelter in the root nodules of these legumes, and in return, legumes is getting nitrogen fixed for themselves, right? Nitrogen fixed. So here rhizobium is also benefited, and the crops, these root legume crops are also benefited. Clear? So that is how atmospheric nitrogen fix in the roots of legume crops. Clear? So this is the process. This is the this is how this. Okay. देखो आदित्य, हेयर व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है कि जो लेग्यूम्स होते हैं, लेग्यूम्स की जो रूट्स होती हैं, उसमें रूट नोड्यूल्स प्रेजेंट, उसमें नोड्यूल्स होते हैं. ओके, देयर आर सम नोड्यूल्स इन रूट्स ऑफ लेग्यूम क्रॉप्स. ठीक है, लेग्यूम क्रॉप्स की जो रूट्स हैं उसमें नोड्यूल्स होंगे. इस नोड्यूल्स के अंदर एक बैक्टीरिया होता है जिसे कहते हैं राइजोबियम. और ये जो राइजोबियम बैक्टीरिया है, ये फिक्स करता है आपका एटमॉस्फेरिक नाइट्रोजन इन द रूट्स ऑफ लेग्यूम क्रॉप. ठीक है, ठीक है. तो अब इससे क्या होता है, इससे क्या होता है कि जब ये ऐड होता है तो नाइट्रोजन कंटेंट बढ़ता है ऑब्वियसली. एंड जो राइजोबियम है उसको शेल्टर मिल जाता है नोड्यूल्स के अंदर. तो दोनों के बीच में सिम्बायोटिक एसोसिएशन होता है जहां पे कि दोनों ही पार्टीज विच इज राइजोबियम एंड प्लांट, लेग्यूम प्लांट, दोनों को ही बेनिफिट हो रहा है. बोथ आर बीइंग गेटिंग बेनिफिटेड. ठीक है, ठीक है. चलो, I hope it is clear now. चलो, moving ahead. Now these pulses are important for your crop rotation. Now students, see क्यों important है, क्योंकि pulses क्या कर रही है, pulses atmospheric nitrogen को fix कर रही है. इससे क्या होता है कि soil की फर्टिलिटी बढ़ जाती है, सॉइल की फर्टिलिटी बढ़ जाती है, क्योंकि जो इंडियन सॉइल स्पेशली, दे आर डेफिशिएंट इन नाइट्रोजन, नाइट्रोजन में बहुत डेफिशिएंट होती है. देन व्हाट वी नीड टू डू, वी नीड टू अप्लाई fertilizer like urea, okay, or any nitrogenous based fertilizer in order to increase nitrogen content in soil. Okay, and this nitrogen is very important for your crop. Okay, this nitrogen is very important for crop. So if something is incorporating this nitrogen for you in the soil, that means you, that particular crop is helping in increasing the nitrogen content of soil. So it help in increasing soil fertility. Hence, in crop rotation, what is crop rotation? Crop rotation is when we are growing different crop in a sequence like rice, wheat, and pulses. This is the crop rotation that is followed. Okay, in Kharif rice is grown, in Rabi wheat is grown, and in Zaid season pulses is grown. Right. So when we incorporate pulses in the in the crop rotation, what will happen, the nutrient exhausted by rice and wheat will be replenished by pulses. So it will help in increasing soil fertility. ठीक है, that's why it is always recommended to incorporate pulses in the crop rotation. Now this is also a point that you have to learn, can be asked in your examination. ठीक है, pulses are important part of crop rotation. Then bacteria, name of a bacteria, rhizobium, which help in fixing atmospheric nitrogen. And what is this, what are the legumes and how they are useful in increasing soil fertility. ठीक है, this whole concept is very important, please learn it. Okay, चलो. Okay, ekta tyagi, other crops than legumes which help in nitrogen fixing are some grasses. Okay, grasses also have root nodules which help in fixing atmospheric nitrogen. Clear? So there are few grasses also. Chalo, next is oilseed crops. Okay. Okay, then we'll discuss that. Okay, we'll discuss that in this particular class only. Don't worry. Chalo. Next, coming to the oilseed crops. What are oilseed crops? Oilseed crops are basically crops from where we are deriving oil, from where the oil we are producing oil. So now your mustard crop is a oilseed crop because we are using mustard oil, right? So mustard is there, groundnut is there, soybean is there, flaxseed is there. So there are so many crops from which oil is being derived. So such crops are called oilseed crop. Yes, sunflower is there. So these are called oilseed crops, right? Now, students, oilseed crops are divided into two categories because some oils we consume and some oils are not for the consumption purpose. They are rather for the other purpose, like they are for the medicinal purpose. Okay. See, you cannot consume castor oil. Okay, castor oil is for the other purposes, like it is used for healing the joints. Okay, it is used for the medicinal purpose and other purposes basically. So The oilseed crops has been divided into two category: edible oilseeds and non-edible oilseeds. Edible oilseeds means all the crops that is producing oil, which can be consumed by human beings, are edible oilseeds. And where we are not consuming the oil of any particular crop, rather we are using this oil for other purposes. It can be cosmetic purposes, it can be medicinal purposes. That is called your non-edible oilseed crops. Clear? Okay. Next, next we have is the fiber crops. Okay. Next we have is the fiber crop. Okay. So Saik has asked that what about scientific name? Do we have to learn all the scientific name? Ab yahan pe you can see scientific names of few crops are given. So students, see, let me tell you here. In case of scientific names, you have to learn scientific name of important crops. Okay, try to learn scientific name of important crops only, because let me give you the reason here. Because in examination, the examiner can ask scientific name of any crop. Okay, once scientific name of strawberry was asked. Now strawberry is not so important or famous crop that we usually study, right? So what you need to do is you learn scientific name of all important crops. If from their question is asked in your examination, you can save your 1 marks. But for 1 mark, I don't recommend you reading or learning all the crop scientific name, because it will take a lot of time and it is just a matter of 1 mark. ठीक है? तो अगर आपका जितने भी आपने important crops के scientific name याद किए वहां से question आ गए, well and good, you can do it, right? But अगर आप सारी crops के scientific name याद करने लग गए, it will take a lot of time, and I don't think for that 1 mark this much energy is required. Okay, आप इतनी efforts या इतने efforts लगाओ उस चीज में कि एक नंबर के लिए. Clear? Okay. Clear? चलो. Yes, yes, it will take a lot of time. So please just whatever scientific name is given in your summary sheet, like here you can see groundnut ka scientific name is given, soybean ka scientific name is given. Now they are important crops. You can learn them. But Karanj and Mahua are not very important crops. So you can skip such scientific name. So a scientific name of the crops that you have listened, that you know are important crops, you can learn those. Okay? In your summary sheet, everything is given. Just learn it from there and try to learn important one only. ठीक है? चलो. Next we have is fiber crop. What are fiber crops? So students, yesterday also we discussed about fiber, fiber revolution. So we have golden fiber revolution, silver fiber revolution, right? So now this is a question for you. Just quickly tell me, what do you understand by silver revolution? What do you understand by silver revolution? Quickly. Okay. Very good. Very good. I can see now the difference is clear, right? Now the difference is clear. Now you have understood silver and silver fiber revolution are different. Okay. Okay, what is the term given for golden fiber revolution? What does golden fiber revolution stands for? Okay, jute. Very good. So basically, students, what are fiber crops? That means you know things, right? Chalo. Fiber crops are basically, these are the crop grown for fiber purposes. Like what kind of fiber that kind of fiber that we can obtain from crops. First we have the jute, then we have is a cotton, and this fiber is further processed into making different things like bags, paper, cloth, ropes, right? So such crops are fiber crops. Okay. Next, the classification of fiber crop, if we see, so we have fruit fiber, stem fiber, and leaf fiber. Okay. So students, I would say suggest ki right now no need to go in that much detail, but just understand what do you understand by fruit, stem, and leaf fiber. Okay, just a few example of this will be more than sufficient. फ्रूट फाइबर इज व्हेन वी आर ऑब्टेनिंग फाइबर फ्रॉम द फ्रूट पार्ट ऑफ प्लांट. ठीक है, प्लांट का जो फ्रूट पार्ट होता है, व्हेन वी आर ऑब्टेनिंग फाइबर फ्रॉम दैट इज फ्रूट फाइबर. देन व्हेन वी आर यूजिंग स्टेम पार्ट ऑफ प्लांट टू obtain the fiber, that is stem fiber, stalk fiber, or bast fiber. And when the fiber is obtained from the leaf part of the plant, that is called leaf fiber or hard fiber. Clear? Now example of fruit fiber is cotton, silk cotton. Okay, so cotton बहुत important example है. You can learn that cotton is example of fruit fiber crop. ठीक है, cotton is example of fruit fiber crop. Similarly jute is example of stem or stalk or bast fiber crop. Okay, and I request you to learn the scientific name of both. Cotton is Gossypium hirsutum and jute is Quercus capsularis. Okay, both are important. Clear? Then we have leaf or hard fiber. So you can learn the example sisal and Manila hemp. Manila hemp is important here. Manila hemp example is important, and learn the name Musa textilis. Okay, textilis is the scientific name of Manila hemp. So these three are important. Learn from which part of plant they are. The fiber of these plant are obtained. Clear? Okay. Next we have is a sugar crop. Now sugar crop is self-understood. So crops from where we are obtaining sugar is called sugar crop, right? Like your, yes, Dipjyoti, silk is obtained from animal, but there is a plant-based silk also, okay? There is a plant-based silk obtained from a plant, okay? See, silk also have a different categories. Originally, silk is obtained from animal, which is silkworm, right? Okay. Sugar crop is basically crop grown for production of sugar and starch. Very easy to understand, right? Example is sugarcane and sugar beet. So student, sugarcane is something which we know is a sugar crop, right? But sugar beet say we obtain sugar. So in India, sugar beet is not used for obtaining sugar, but in other countries, they are using sugar beet for production of sugar, right? So sugarcane, the scientific name is important. Saccharum officinarum, very important. Learn this. Then sugar beet का भी important है. Beta vulgaris. Learn this, right? Both these scientific names are important. Just try to learn these scientific names. Okay. Next we have is commercial crop. Now students, what are commercial crops? Basically, commercial crops are crops which are grown for trade purpose, right? Now all crops can come under commercial crop. Now if rice is grown for the trade purpose, will come under commercial crop. Wheat is grown for the trade purpose, will come under commercial crop. Sugar cane, cotton, any kind of crop that is grown for trade purpose will come under commercial crop, right? So mostly 75% of the product is for the sale and rest is for the consumption. Okay? So example is sugarcane, cotton and tobacco. So students here, scientific name of tobacco is also important. Okay? Scientific name of tobacco is also important. Nicotiana tabacum, very important. Try to learn it. Okay, I'm going to tell you the crops where you have to learn the scientific names. Chalo. Moving ahead, we have forage crop. What are forage crops basically, students? These are the crops which are grown for the vegetative part. Okay, vegetative part is what? Like we have a plant. Plant will have a different parts. Like there is roots. Okay, then there is stem and leaves. So these leaves are basically vegetative part, and then we have a reproductive part which contain flower. Okay, flower is reproductive part means this flower will have the seeds. That's why it is a reproductive part. Vegetative part is your leaves and foliage basically, right? So these forage crops are basically grown for the vegetative matter, means this for the leaves and foliage, so that it can be utilized as feed for the animal. Okay? So no believer, these classes will not be conducted daily on YouTube. This is just a demo class. Okay, from tomorrow onwards there will be no class on YouTube. Chalo, ठीक है, वेजिटेटिव मैटर के लिए when we are growing any crop, that is called a forage crop. And why we are growing such crop? To feed the livestock, right? Now it include fodder, hay, silage, pasture. Example is guinea grass and sitalia. ठीक है. Now students, there is there is one thing that you have to learn. Yes, there is one difference you have to learn, which is silage. Silage is क्या है? Silage is, what is silage? Silage is basically crops like corn, legume and grasses. Okay, they what in silage crop, see, silage is something which is made in order to preserve the fodder for future use. Okay, when we do not have supply of fodder in future, so what we do beforehand, we cut the crop, we cut all the fodder crop and we make silage. Silage is something, it is a fermented form of fodder grasses that is stored for future use, right? So here crops like corn, legume, grasses, they are harvested, okay, at early maturity. Means before they reach maturity, they are harvested and they are chopped and they are packed tightly in towers which are called silo or pits, okay. And a fermentation process is allowed there. And when there is a lean period or off season, or the season when we do not have access to the fodder or foliage, then this silage is given to the crop, okay. This is used to feed the, sorry, not crop, this silage is given to feed livestock, okay. So example of silage crop is maize, cowpea, jowar, sorghum, okay. Just remember here, silage kya hai? Silage is a combination, or it is a fermented form of all the fodder crop which is stored for future use. Clear? इतना इतना कंसेप्ट याद रखो, दैट्स मोर देन सफिशिएंट, ओके। ओके Okay, so here four terms are here. Okay, fodder, hay, silage, and pasture. Difference kya hai? Let me tell you. Fodder is what? Fodder is like you went to the field, you have grown some fodder crops like napier, you have grown some fodder crop like any berseem grass or lucerne, right? These are all fodder crops. So you went to the field, you just cut down all these crops and you provide it for the livestock. Okay, immediate use for livestock, that is fodder. What is hay? Hay is when you have stored this fodder crop in dried form. Means you have cut down the fodder crop, you have sun dried it and then preserve it. You haven't gone for any fermentation process, like unlike in silage, right? So hay is when you are cutting down all the fodder crop, drying it, sun drying it and then storing it. ठीक है, silage I have explained you. Pastures क्या होते हैं? What are pastures? Pastures are basically the land masses or the areas which are full of grasses, or they are covered with the grasses. And from here, the grass is not usually cut down, or the fodder is not cut down to take to the livestock, but rather livestock are allowed to freely rear on pastures and they eat those grasses that is grown in this pasture, right? So this is the difference between fodder, hay, and silage and pasture. Clear? Yeah. Pasture is something like a open area which is used for grazing animal. Okay. Is there any other confusion here? Please let me know. Okay, Ashwin has asked how is lay crop different from forage crop? Okay, see, Ashwin, lay crop. Okay, we have to understand lay crop is the purpose, the objective of lay crop is to conserve soil and water. Okay, the prime objective of lay crop is to conserve soil and water and then to feed livestock. Okay, then to feed livestock. In lay crop, you are either growing grasses or legumes or combinations. Sometimes combination of grasses plus legumes are grown in case of lay crops. Okay. So here the objective is completely different. The objective is basically to conserve soil and water of large area. And we are either growing grasses or legumes, or combination of crop can be grown. Combination of crops can be grown here, right? So that is lay crop. And forage crop is solely and solely grown for the feeding purpose of livestock. ठीक है? लाइवस्टॉक को फीड करने के लिए फॉरेज क्रॉप ग्रो की जाती है। ओके, पास्चर क्रॉप क्या है? पास्चर क्रॉप बेसिकली स्टूडेंट्स, पास्चर क्रॉप कुछ नहीं है, पास्चर्स होती हैं लैंड एरियाज वेयर द ग्रासेस आर ग्रोन, ओके। एंड हियर in on over this land area the animals are allowed to rear feed freely, okay, they are allowed to move freely and eat whatever they want, ठीक है, they are pastures basically. Next we have is green manure crops. Okay, I hope it is clear. If there's any doubt, please let me know. Okay, any doubt? Let me know. I'll answer your query. Okay. Okay, Gautam, see silage क्या है? What is silage? Uh, in case of silage, what we do, we first we chop all the fodder crops like your maize, sorghum, bajra. There are only few crops that can be used as silage. One more thing, right? So these crops, when harvested, we grow these crops, okay? Before they reach maturity, when the foliage has developed, when the leaves of this crops has developed, we cut down these crop, okay? We harvest this crop and we chop it. We chop it into small pieces. Once this crop has been chopped, it is then stored in airtight container which are known silo or trenches. Okay, in silo or trenches they are stored and it is allowed to ferment. Okay, a particular after reaching a particular pH or a particular condition. So there is a whole process of silage. Okay, you don't have to go in that detail, but yes, they are allowed to ferment in particular silo or trench, and inside these trenches they are allowed it to ferment to a particular extent. Okay, and then they are stored, then they are when they have fermented has come to certain level, then they are stored for the period when we do not have green fodder for the livestock feeding. Then we will use this stored silo for feeding livestock. Clear? Clear? Okay. Yes, silage and lay is different. See, silage is, देखो, ultimately the purpose of all these things, fodder, hay, silage is to feed livestock. But how we are feeding livestock and what process we are using, that makes the difference. Okay, that makes the difference. And lay crops are basically they are green crops which are used for feeding livestock. But silage mein we are using fermented crops. Okay, clear? Okay, coming to the topic, green manure crop. What are green manure crop? Green manure crops are those crops which are basically grown for improving soil fertility. How they are improving the soil fertility? Again, these green manure crops, they are rich in nitrogen. Means their leaf part or their foliage part are rich in nitrogen. What we do? We grow these crops on our field. Like for say, if any particular field soil fertility has gone down for any particular field, soil fertility has gone down, we will grow green manure crop over that field. Okay, and then what we'll do, we will before after certain time when the leaves part has developed for that particular crop, we will cut down this crop and we will chop it down and incorporate it into soil. Okay, as this crop is rich in nitrogen, what will happen, the when this leaf part will decompose, ठीक है, जब soil में हमने इसको mix कर दिया और decomposition process start होगा, this decomposition will increase the nitrogen content in soil. It will increase the soil fertility. ठीक है, so these are the green manure crops. Clear? So I hope it is clear. So example is sun hemp and techa. Okay, you have to learn. You can learn the scientific name of sun hemp, which is Crotalaria juncea, and techa is Hispania aculeata. Okay. Chalo, next we have is the spices and condiments. So students, spices and condiments are basically the crops which add flavor to our food, right? So they are adding for flavor or aroma to the food. They are spices and condiments. Example are ginger, garlic, turmeric. Okay. So here, ginger is important. Learn the scientific name of not ginger, garlic, sorry. Allium sativum. Okay. So this is the scientific name of garlic. Okay. Chalo, let's move ahead to the next classification. Okay. Okay, let's move ahead to the next classification, which is based on ontogeny, that is life cycle. Okay. So students, based on ontogeny or life cycle, crops have been divided into three groups: annual, biennial, and perennial. Now, what is this ontogeny? First, we have to understand what is the life cycle of a crop. So, life cycle of crop starts with seed. Okay, we have a seed. We have sown this seed. Now, this seed will germinate. This seed will germinate, form root and shoot. Okay, this will form root and shoot. After some time, plant will grow. Okay, it will grow and vegetative part will grow. All the vegetative part will grow, means all the stems and leaves will start forming. Okay, these stems and leaves start forming, and then what will happen, once the vegetative phase is completed, then comes the reproductive phase where flower will start growing. Okay, flower will start growing, and inside this flower we will have seed, and again from that seed this life cycle can go on. So this is the complete life cycle of a plant. Okay, learn that plants have two part, which is a vegetative phase, and then we have a reproductive phase. Okay, vegetative phase and reproductive phase. Now students, based on this life cycle, plants has been divided into annual, biennial, and perennial. What is annual crop? Annual crops are basically crops that can complete the life cycle within one season or within 1 year. Okay, under 1 year, if any crop is completing the life cycle, that this complete life cycle is annual crop. Example is rice, paddy. Scientific name is important, Oryza sativa. Okay, wheat का scientific name is important, Triticum aestivum, very important. Maize का scientific name is important, Zea maize, and also mustard scientific name, Brassica species. Okay, learn this scientific name, and all these are example of annual crop. Now students, if any crop take 2 years to complete life cycle, means like in the first year it is completing just vegetative phase, and in second year it is completing the reproductive phase, then such crop will be called as biennial crop. An example is sugar beet. I have already told the scientific name, that is beta vulgaris, right? Next we have is the perennial crops. So perennial crops are, students, something which are not need to be resown, means they can live more than 3 years. Okay, they complete their life cycle in more than 2 years, right? So example is napier, fodder grass, and coconut. Okay, so these are your classification based on life cycle. Okay, chalo, next we have is, okay, next we have is classification on botany. We have basically botanical classification, or we can say uh, classification based on the cotyledons present. Now, we have to know first what are these cotyledons. Okay, what are these cotyledons? So, students, when we see a seed, okay, you might have seen in your day-to-day life also that some seeds can be easily broken down into two pieces, like your peanut, like your chickpea, like your peas, and grams. Yeah, also the kidney beans, right? You might have seen that if you split it open, it open into two equal part. It get divided into two equal part. Okay, and some seeds like wheat seed, maize seed, they will not divide into two equal part. So basically, students, here the crops usually belong to angiosperms. Now, there is a whole botanical classification of all the plants on the earth, right? And there is a classification based on the seed, right? So that classification on that basis, crops has been or plants has been divided into angiosperm and gymnosperms. Okay, so you don't have to go that in this in matlab, you don't have to learn this in detail. Just understand angiosperm and gymnosperm. In gymnosperm, they we have the plant will have a naked seed, means the seed is not covered with anything. Okay, it will have a naked seed, like you might have if seen the pine cone. In pine cone, the seed is not covered with anything. This you will see seed by your naked eye. But in angiosperm, seeds are covered, right? And your crops belong mostly to the angiosperm. Your crops are part of angiosperm. And in angiosperm, there are two type of crops. One producing the seeds which are of monocotyledon, and other producing seeds which are of dicotyledon. Now, the difference is only that when seed is not divided into two equal parts, these crops or these seeds are called monocotyledon seeds, like your maize and wheat. Rice are example of monocotyledons, and dicotyledons. Usually your pulses are dicotyledons, where the seed get divided. It gets split into two equal halves. Okay. So this is just a basic example or basic classification. Just keep in mind what is monocotyledon and dicotyledon. Understand? Just keep in mind monocot, dicot, and I have told you what kind of seed will come under monocot and dicot. If it is asked in examination, like wheat is example of, or which of the following is a monocotyledon crop, and crop like wheat, maize is there, so you can answer it. Okay. Chalo, based on season, now we have come to the question. One question was asked to me. ठीक है, so based on season we have next classification, and based on season there is kharif, rabi and summer season, right? There is kharif, rabi and summer crop. So what is this kharif crop basically, students? See, understand, kharif crop basically monsoon. इसको याद रखना है आपने, monsoon से. These are also called monsoon crops because you can see sowing of this kharif crop is during monsoon, when monsoon arrives. So it is around June, July. ठीक है, it is around June, July. So remember, for kharif crop, if you cannot remember the sowing and harvesting time, तो kharif crop याद रख लो. Kharif में means monsoon crops, and monsoon starts in June and July. So their sowing is done in June and July, right? Harvesting time of these kharif crop is September, October, right? It takes around 6 months to complete life cycle of these crops, right? So harvesting time will be September, October. Example are rice, maize and groundnut. Talking about rabi crop, ठीक है, rabi means winter. Rabi means winter, ठीक है. So after your kharif crop is harvested, then there will be sowing of rabi crop, ठीक है. खरीफ का याद रख लो, sowing and harvesting. Just after harvesting of kharif, rabi will start. तो rabi की जो sowing होगी, that will be in October, November, when the harvesting of kharif is completed, right? So इसके बाद sowing होगी rabi crop की. That's how you can learn it. Sowing of a rabi crop happens in October, November, and harvesting in March and April. ठीक है. Examples are barley, wheat, oats, potato, Bengal gram. Then we have summer or Zayed crop. So basically, student, there is some time duration between monsoon and winter, which is known as summer or Zayed season. So in this season can be utilized for growing some short duration crop. So short duration crops like black gram, green gram, cowpea, they can be grown in between Kharif and Rabi season. So sowing time here will be February, March, and harvesting will be May, June. Okay? Okay? Yes, Gautam. Seeds are covered in angiosperm. In gymnosperm, seeds are naked. Okay? Chalo. Okay, next classification is based on mode of pollination. सी मार्केटिंग सीजन क्या होता है कि मार्केटिंग सीजन इज नथिंग लाइक बिफोर हार्वेस्टिंग ऑफ खरीफ क्रॉप. देखो, मार्केटिंग सीजन इज व्हाट, when kharif crop is harvested, it will come to the market, right? It will come to the market, and before that MSP is announced. So that is the kharif marketing season, and for that kharif marketing season of that particular year, MSP is announced, right? हर साल ये होता है, हर साल खरीफ मार्केटिंग सीजन, रबी मार्केटिंग सीजन. सो मार्केटिंग सीजन स्टार्ट होगा आपका हार्वेस्टिंग के बाद, ठीक है. मार्केटिंग सीजन हाउ स्टार्ट होगा? हार्वेस्टिंग के बाद. जब हार्वेस्टिंग हो जाएगी तभी तो वो मार्केट में आएगा, राइट? सो दैट्स हाउ यू कैन relate these things. Okay, Rai, if it is not in the summary sheet, let me tell you, they are not important. In summary sheet, only important topics for your examination are covered. ठीक है? You can skip monocotyledon, dicotyledon part. It is not that much important. Okay, can anybody tell me here the meaning of pollination? What do you understand by pollination? Okay, we are going to cover next based on mode of pollination. So, can anybody tell me what is pollination? Yes, I can see answers coming. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. Very good. Very good. ठीक है, that means you know things, right? So students, usually in order to form seed, there is a process that happens in flower which is known as pollination. Pollination क्या है? In flower, okay, this is a flower. So there is a male part in flower and there is a female part in flower. Okay, so what will happen? This male part will produce pollen, right? And this pollen is transferred to the female part of flower, and when this transfer happens, this pollen, fuse with ovary and it form seed. It form seed. Okay, it forms seed. So that is how seeds are produced inside a flower. Okay, so pollination is what? It is a transfer of pollen grain from male anther to the female stigma. ठीक है, just simple as that. Transfer of pollen grain from male anther to female stigma in order to produce seed is your pollination. ठीक है. Now based on pollination we have two type of crops. ठीक है. There is a classification based on mode of pollination. So students, if pollination happens within a flower, means if pollination happen, this is one flower, and within a flower if pollination is happening, like from the anther of this flower, the pollen is getting transferred into the stigma. So this is self-pollination, means within a flower pollination is happening. That is self-pollination, and crops having such kind of mechanism are called self-pollinated crops. Okay? So your rice and wheat are self-pollinated crops. Okay? Because you will see the flower opens after in rice and wheat, the flower open after pollination is completed, right? So these are called self-pollination. This is called, the crops having such mechanism are called self-pollinated crops. Next we have is cross-pollination, where the pollen of one crop is get transferred to the stigma of another flower. Okay, pollen of one flower get transferred into the stigma of another flower. This is called cross pollination. And student, cross pollination needs some kind of agent. It can be wind, water, or any insect. Okay, so if any crop have such kind of mechanism, these crops are called cross pollinated crops. An example of this is maize. Okay, example is maize. So there are different agents of pollination. Some are abiotic, some are biotic. Abiotic means non-living, biotic means living. Okay? So abiotic के example है wind. So through wind also pollen can be transferred. Through water also pollen can be transferred. So that is called wind pollination, water pollination. Then there are some biotic agents like bird, reptiles, mammals, insects. They can also help in pollination. Means when they move from one flower to another flower, they can also cause pollination, right? So students, some terminologies are here for a few types of pollination. So whenever water pollination happens, the term hydrophily is given. Okay, you can just learn these terms. So term hydrophily is given. Whenever wind pollination is happen, then anemophily term is given. When animal pollination is happening, then zoophily term is given. Okay? When pollination happens by insect, then term entomophily is given. Right? So these are some terminologies. Just terminologies, if you can learn, just learn them. It can be asked in your examination. Okay? Okay. Okay, Gautam, see, sometimes, see, basically this pollination, uh, sometimes there are some conditions like a flower is having only main part and other flower have only female part. At that case also, if cross pollination is required. Okay, so there are so many factors. Okay, students, there are so many factors due to which this self pollination, cross pollination happens, right? We don't have to go in that detail, but yeah, understand, cross pollination happens when either either plant is having the flower is having only one reproductive organ, either male or either female. Or sometimes what can happen, the male reproductive organ matures late than female. So what will happen, the flower where already male reproductive organ has matured, it will pollinate the female plant, right? So there are so many things, there are so many terminologies given, and there are so many reasons behind this to happen, which is cross pollination. So you just need to learn what is self and what is cross. Self is within a flower, if pollination is happening, that is self. If pollen is being transferred from one flower to another flower, then that is cross pollination, right? Now there is one question, naturally versus often cross pollination. So Srishti, naturally cross pollination and often cross pollination, if you are asking me कि cross pollination and often cross pollination का difference क्या है, तो cross pollination are crops that are strictly cross pollinated, means like your papaya. Okay, strictly cross pollinated because either of plant will have only one type of flower. ठीक है? Often cross pollinated means where self pollination and cross pollination both can happen. Often pollination means where both the situation is there, but the chances are more than 5% crops is being cross pollinated. Means the thing is that both type of pollination is happening, that is often cross pollinated. ठीक है, I hope it is clear. Okay. Moving ahead. Okay, so see, I've told you that we have two types of flower. One is male flower, one is female flower. Okay, male flower will have the male reproductive organ, female flower will have female reproductive organ. And sometimes we have flowers which are called hermaphrodites having both male and female part, right? So students, if so based on availability of flower, we have monoecious crop and dioecious crop. Okay. Now, if one crop, if the same plant will have male and female part, like your maize. In maize, you might have seen the upper part, which is tassel, is your male part, and then here, this is a female part, right, which grow into maize, where maize seeds are grown, right? This is known as silk. So, one plant carries both male and female part, right? That is monoecious. That is monoecious. Mono means one. Mono means one. One plant carry both male and female flower. They are different. Okay, male flower is different, female flower is different. But they are in only one plant. Okay, that is monoecious plant. But if we need two plants, if only one plant will have male flower, other will have only female plant flower, that is called dioecious. An example of dioecious is papaya. Okay, papaya is your dioecious plant where either of plant will have male or female. ठीक है. No, monoecious and hermaphrodites are not same. See, Avantika, monoecious is having male and female flower on same plant. Hermaphrodites, hermaphrodite plants are those in which on a same flower we have both female and male structure. ठीक है? So basically, the picture shown here was of this is hermaphrodite flower. You can see here male part is also there, female part is also there, right? Now, when I talk about monoecious, in monoecious, you will say we have separate male flower and this is separate female flower. Okay? Okay, see, for the identification of papaya having male and female, so that is something which is, uh, uh, that cannot be, simply identified on the outer characteristics. We need to have seeds. Okay, we need to have seeds. Seeds should be resourced from some authorized institutions, so they can tell you if the seed is of male flower having a plant, seed is of a male plant or a female plant. Okay, so I cannot tell you how can we identify male and female part of papaya. Okay. Okay. Everything is clear. Okay, let's move ahead to the next. Actually, we are I need to cover this chapter. Okay, so I have divided this chapter into two slot. The factor affecting crop production will be covered in tomorrow's class, but let's see today to what extent we can cover this class first. Chalo. Next is based on depth of and type of root system. Okay, so students, there are three type of root system. So first of all, let me tell you that any crop will have two type of root system. Either it will be tap root system or fibrous root system. What is tap root system? Here you see in tap root, one main root grow and then we have some lateral rootlets. Okay, that is attached to the main root stem. Okay, so the main root will go deep into the soil and there will be laterals coming out of that main root stem. This type of root system, if any crop have, that will be called as tap root system. Next, we have fibrous root system. What is fibrous root system? Fibrous root system is this one. Okay, you can see from one point fibrous like root are arising. It's not like that there is no distinction ki which is tap root. Okay, tap root kya hoti hai? Tap root is one main root. There will be one main root that will go deep inside the soil, and there will be rootlets which support that main root. ठीक है, that is tap root system. Fibrous में क्या होता है? There is no main root. From a point, root like structure will arise, and fibrous like structure is formed. ठीक है, so this is fibrous root system. Clear? I hope these two is clear. Now tap root system is seen in red gram and grapes, while fibrous root are seen in cereals, crop and wheat and rice. Okay, see Mohit, in banyan tree that is prop root. Okay, that is something different. See Aditya, you are asking that roots are edible for nutrition point. In some vegetable, we consume the root part of a plant. Okay, so yes, they are edible. In some vegetables like radish, carrot, we are consuming the root part of a plant, so they are edible, right? Okay. Okay, see, Devjyoti, cactus and mangrove. Okay, this is not your part of syllabus. Let me tell you, but just quickly, cactus and mangrove. Cactus are grown in desert. Mangroves are grown in submerged condition. Okay. Now, cactus, if you will see, they are modified to survive the desert conditions. Okay, so they will have thorns. They will have cuticles. They will have thick cuticle. You will see not much foliage, right? So they are modified to survive desert condition, while mangrove are modified to survive the submerged condition. So mangroves have some respiratory organ that comes out of the root, which are called nematophores, right? This is the mangrove desert. So nematophores come out for the respiration purpose. So basically, each crop has been modified based on the climatic condition where it is found. Okay. Taproot के examples हैं, I have told you, red gram and grapes. Okay, red grams and grapes are taproot examples. Fibrous root example are cereals, crop, wheat and rice. Now let's come to the classification based on depth of root system. Now students, to the extent, yes Nandani, sugarcane also have a fibrous root system. Okay. Okay, now based on the depth to what this root grows, we have shallow root crop, intermediate root crop, and deep root crop. What are the shallow root crops? Basically, your cereals, wheat, barley, rye, having the fibrous root. Okay, they are shallow root crops. Then we have intermediate root. So depth of intermediate root crops is 1 to 1.5. Basically, the root goes 1 to 1.5 meter deep inside the soil. An example is faba bean and sugar beet. And deep root system, deep root crops are those crops where the root grow more than 1 meter below the soil surface. ठीक है, so example is alfalfa. Okay. Now next we have is a classification of crops based on climate. So we have students temperate, tropical and subtropical crops. Temperate crops are those crops which are grown in temperate region where temperature is less. Okay, they can survive the cool condition, cool climatic condition. Such crops are called temperate crops. Then we have tropical crops. Tropical crops are grown in tropical regions where the temperature is high and there is a warm, humid conditions. So all those crops are called tropical zone crops. And subtropical crops are in between temperate and tropical, right? They can tolerate some kind of warm and humid condition, and to some extent they can tolerate cold condition also, right? So these are the classification based on climate, and I hope it's easy to learn, right? Tropical, temperate, and subtropical. Okay. Next we have is classification based on nutrient uptake. So students, till now we have understood that there are few crop which help in restoring soil fertility like your pulses, okay? And there are few crops like cereals which do not contribute in restoring soil fertility. Now, based on that only, we have this classification that if any crop is restoring the soil fertility, that is called restorative crop. So legumes, alfalfa, all these are restorative crop because they increase nutrient content of soil. Then we have exhaustive crop. Exhaustive crops are basically the crops that that exhaust nutrient from the soil. Okay, so sorghum, sunflower, uh, rice, wheat, cereals, all these are your exhaustive crops. ठीक है? Okay, so okay, there is one query. SR Saho, is this not clear? Is this classification not clear? Please let me know अगर ये classification clear नहीं है. And ऋतिक दास, कौन सा part clear नहीं है? ये वाला? Okay. Okay, ठीक है. I'll explain this one. But Saurabh, please tell me if the nutrient part, this based on climate part is not clear. SR Sahu, please, if it is not clear, please let me know. I'll repeat it. Okay. Okay, chalo. Coming back to this classification, which is based on nutrient uptake. Okay. Now, students, okay. What is rest? First of all, nutrient uptake means here we have two classification basically. First is of restorative crops. Now, based on whether the crop is able to replenish the nutrient in soil or not, okay, based on that, this classification has been made. Restorative crops क्या होती हैं? These crops which helps in returning nutrient and organic matter to the soil. Now, examples I have told you, legumes. Legumes में क्या होता है? Legumes में I have told you that they have root nodules where rhizobium resides, and this rhizobium help in fixing atmospheric nitrogen, right? And by this, what is happening when nitrogen is fixed into the root nodules, and so this legume is doing what? It is increasing nitrogen content in soil, right? And when this root will decompose, nitrogen content is increased, also organic matter will also increase, right? So restorative crops are basically those crops which help in returning nutrient back to the soil. So we grow pulses, right? Pulses are grown. So pulses, what will do? They will take some nutrient, but also they are contributing in returning the nutrient back to the soil by fixing atmospheric nitrogen, right? But there are some exhaustive crops. Exhaustive crops are basically your cereal crops like rice, wheat. They will, what they will do? They will just take up the nutrient from the soil, but there will be no contribution of these crops to return nutrient back to the soil. Clear? Clear? Is it clear now? Is it clear now? So that will be your exhaustive crop. Okay, when crop do not contribute in returning the nutrient back to the soil and feed heavily on soil, means they will just exhaust the soil. There is no mechanism in these crops that they can return nutrient back to the soil. Such crops are exhaustive crops. Now is it clear or not? Please let me know. Now is it clear or not? Okay, done. Let's move ahead then. Okay, so students, next we have is based on CO2 fixation. Okay, based on CO2 fixation, there is a classification. Now, first of all, we need to understand what is this CO2 fixation. So students, see, in plants, plant need to make their own food, right? We know the process of photosynthesis through which plant make their own food. So for making their food, for making their own food, they need carbon source. They need some carbon source, right? Because ultimately, what is photosynthesis? It is a form of glucose, and glucose have carbon in it, right? So they need carbon carbon source. So what is the source of carbon? That is atmosphere. So what they will do? They will fix atmospheric carbon dioxide for processing it further to make glucose. Okay, so this fixation is known as carbon dioxide fixation in plant. ठीक है? This fixation is known as carbon dioxide fixation. Clear? Okay, so all those who are on YouTube, let me tell you that this session is live, and we are conducting this session on Zoom as well as YouTube, right? So there should not be any confusion. You guys can also ask your doubt. Okay? So this is a live session basically. अभी ये जूम में भी चल रहा है, यूट्यूब पे भी चल रहा है, यू कैन ऑल्सो आस्क, दिस इज जस्ट अ डेमो लेक्चर जो हम लाइव क्लासेस में लेते हैं। ओके, चलो मूविंग अहेड, आई हैव टोल्ड यू व्हाट इज CO2 फिक्सेशन। Plant need carbon source to make glucose, and they take this carbon from carbon dioxide which is present in atmosphere. Clear? So this fixation, this process of fixing carbon dioxide into the plant is CO2 fixation. Clear? I hope this is clear. And why plants are doing this? For photosynthesis, for making their food. So the formula, the chemical reaction of photosynthesis is basically 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll make glucose, and oxygen is released. See, this is how oxygen is released by plant. Okay, chalo. Moving ahead. Now, if I talk about photosynthesis process, here what is required? Chlorophyll is required. Now, what is this chlorophyll? This is a green pigment. We know plants are green due to this pigment which is known as chlorophyll. This chlorophyll, what it does, it capture sunlight. ठीक है, ये sunlight को capture करता है. I have told you here that for making this glucose, sunlight is required. Okay, so chlorophyll captures the sunlight and help in reaction of making glucose. ठीक है, then sunlight is required. See, sunlight is also required to break water. ठीक है, sunlight is also required to break water inside the plant. I am going to tell you the mechanism. Then CO2 is the source of carbon. ठीक है, and water is required. Now let us see how this happens. So students, basically this happens in two reactions. So there are two reactions that goes inside. There are two reactions that goes inside the plant. First is light reaction and another one is dark reaction. ठीक है, light reaction and then we have dark reaction. Okay, so there is no photograph. Okay, but let's move ahead here. Here, if we see light reaction, it is also known as primary photochemical reaction, Hill reaction or Arnon cycle. ठीक है, अब इस राइट रिएक्शन में होता क्या है स्टूडेंट्स? इन दिस पर्टिकुलर रिएक्शन ATP and NADPH2 are produced inside the plant cell. These two things are produced. These are the source of energy basically. ठीक है, these are the source of energy. These are energy currency through which chemical reaction will happen, right? So here what has happened, first step is that water is split into there is a water will split into hydrogen and oxygen. ठीक है, so it is also called Hill reaction, as Hill proved that chloroplast produce O2 by the splitting of water. So the oxygen produced hota hai, that is due to the splitting of water, right? So first reaction is that water is split into hydrogen and oxygen. Now this hydrogen which is released from splitting of water, it get attached to NADP, which is again a form of energy inside the plant, and NADPH2. No, NADP and NADPH. Okay. So this water get attached to these things that are produced that are there in the plant, and then they form ATP and NADPH2. ठीक है, so in the next step, first step is basically photolysis of water. First step is breaking down of water. Light reaction में क्या होता है? With the help of sunlight, water is broken down into hydrogen and oxygen. Now this hydrogen which is released, it will convert this NADP into NADPH2 and ADP into ATP. ठीक है, तो ये कन्वर्जन होता है. हमें वो डिटेल रिएक्शन नहीं पढ़नी है स्टूडेंट्स. अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर. देयर आर टू sides. One is light reaction, another is dark reaction. Now light reaction is called light reaction because it need light for functioning. Sunlight is required for this light reaction to happen, right? So when there will be sunlight, water will break down into hydrogen and oxygen. This hydrogen is used further for reducing NADP into NADPH2. ठीक है, and then in the second part, when this NADP and NADPH is formed, is used basically, then this CO2 will be utilized to form glucose. ठीक है, so that happens in dark reaction. Why it is called dark reaction? It's not like that it cannot happen, it does not happen in daylight. It's just that it is not dependent on light. Okay, so based on dependency of light, we have light reaction and dark reaction. Dark reaction is not dependent on light, hence it is called dark reaction. It is also known as Blackman reaction, path of carbon photosynthesis. ठीक है, So Blackman has explained basically the concept of dark reaction in photosynthesis was explained by Blackman. So इसीलिए Blackman reaction भी बोलते हैं. And students यहाँ पे two types of cyclic reaction occurs, that is Calvin cycle और Hatch and Slack cycle. Basically जो CO2 है that get converted into glucose इन डिफरेंट बाय डिफरेंट पाथवे, उसी पाथवे के बेसिस पे ये क्लासिफिकेशन किया गया है. ठीक है, आपको सिर्फ इतना जानना है कि जो CO2 है वो हर क्रॉप में it is being fixed or it is being converted into glucose through different pathway, और जिस pathway से वो होता है उस pathway के basis पे ये classification है. ठीक है, you just need to know this much. Rest, there is a whole reaction, there is a whole thing behind that happens, how the CO2 get fixed into the fixed into the plant and then get converted into glucose. But right now, you just need to understand that based on pathway in which CO2 is getting converted into glucose, we have this classification. Okay, and there are three types of crops based on this. First we have is a C3 crop, C4 crop, and CAM crop. C3 plant, C4 plant, or CAM plant. Okay, so what are C3 plant basically, students? ठीक है, so again you don't have to read कि C3 plant में first क्या होता है, फिर C4 में पहले कहाँ पे रिएक्शन होती है, फिर बंडल शीथ सेल में रिएक्शन होती है. देर इज नो नीड ऑफ ऑल दीज थिंग्स, दैट्स व्हाई आई हैव रिमूव्ड ऑल दोज पार्ट हियर. जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड कि जो पाथवे फॉलो होता है, ओके, जो पाथवे फॉलो होता है फॉर फिक्सेशन ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और फॉर कन्वर्जन ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इनटू द ग्लूकोज, दैट इज योर ऑन बेसिस ऑफ दैट दिस क्लासिफिकेशन इज देयर. ठीक है, अभी अगर ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, ये टॉपिक और समझना है, इफ यू वांट डिटेल ऑन दिस, सो आई कैन ब्रिंग फ्यू स्लाइड्स टुमारो आल्सो, सो वी कैन डिस्कस ऑन डिटेल कि कैसे ये फिक्सेशन हो रहा है. बट लेट मी टेल यू, इट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. व्हाट यू नीड टू लर्न इज दैट देयर आर थ्री टाइप ऑफ प्लांट्स, C3 प्लांट्स, C4 प्लांट्स एंड कैम प्लांट्स. ठीक है, बेस्ड ऑन CO2 फिक्सेशन. देखो, जितनी जरूरत है उतना ही पढ़ो अभी एग्जामिनेशन के लिए, क्योंकि एक्स्ट्रा पढ़ के मैं आप एक्स्ट्रा पढ़ लोगे अभी, जैसे लाइक अगर आप रिएक्शन में चले जाओगे वो सब याद भी कर लोगे, इट इज ऑफ नो यूज, कभी एग्जाम में नहीं पूछा गया है. ओके, yes, so basically here, see, if I talk about CO2 fixation, so there are three types of plant, C3, C4, CAM. So C3 में क्या होता है स्टूडेंट, C3 में बेसिकली C3 क्यों कहा गया है, इसको C3 प्लांट्स क्यों कहा गया है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो CO2 फिक्सेशन होता है, ठीक है, हम CO2 फिक्सेशन की बात कर रहे हैं. ओके, इफ यू कैन कैच मी, तो CO2 फिक्सेशन जो होता है दैट गेट कन्वर्टेड इनटू 3 कार्बन कंपाउंड. जो CO2 फिक्सेशन होता है वो CO2 पहले कन्वर्ट होता है 3 कार्बन कंपाउंड में, हेंस इट इज कॉल्ड C3 प्लांट और C3 क्रॉप्स. ओके, in case of, again I'm repeating, in case of C3 plants, CO2 that is fixed by plant get converted into 3 carbon compound, hence it is called C3 plant. ठीक है, this 3 carbon compound get further processed into glucose, which is the food of plant, photosynthate of plant. Clear? In case of C4 plant, CO2 which is fixed by plant get converted into 4 carbon compound, hence it is called C4 plant. Okay, then further this 4 carbon compound get reduced to 3 carbon compound, क्योंकि जो हमारा ग्लूकोज का मॉलिक्यूल होता है that is C6, सो 4 का डबल करेंगे तो दैट बिकम C8, वो ग्लूकोज नहीं है, राइट. सो इन C4 प्लांट फर्स्ट 4 कार्बन कंपाउंड इज फॉर्म्ड which is reduced to 3 carbon compound and then glucose is formed. Clear? Clear? Okay, and in case of CAM, again both C3 C4 happens, but this is specialized for the plant where the climatic condition is very harsh, like your desert climatic condition, like where the temperature is very high. So the stomata, okay, the stomata cannot be opened during daytime. Okay, if they will open stomata during daytime for the capture of CO2, for fixation of CO2, they will lose a lot of water from the plant body. So what happens here? There is a reverse mechanism. So stomata opens during night time. This stomata are open. This plant store carbon dioxide during night, and Further processing, which is conversion of the carbon dioxide into glucose, happens during daytime. ठीक है, that happens during daytime. So students, that is the difference here. Okay. Yes. So see, if you ask me, it is necessary to read C3, C4 and CAM plant. So no, it is not necessary to the extent. देखो, whatever I am saying here, कि focus on this part. Just remember that that will be more than sufficient. ठीक है? First thing to learn here, first thing to learn here is that C3 plant are called C3 because they are the carbon dioxide that is fixed get converted into three carbon compound. In C4 plant, carbon dioxide fixed get converted into four carbon compound, then three carbon compound, and then it convert to glucose. In CAM plant, the opening of stomata is reversed as compared to C3 and C4. So stomata in CAM plant will open during night and it will be closed during daytime. ठीक है, तो यही डिफरेंस है जो आपको याद रखना है, राइट? सो basically student, the cycle here through which this three carbon compound is getting converted into glucose, that is known as C3 cycle. Okay. ठीक है. So, coming to here, CO2, in case of C3 in case of C3 plant, this three carbon compound is getting converted into glucose. This is known as C3 cycle. This is known as C3 cycle. Okay. This is known as C3 cycle or Kelvin cycle. ठीक है, C3 cycle को Kelvin cycle भी बोलते हैं. You have to learn. C3 cycle, Kelvin cycle, and C4 cycle is known as Hatch and Slack cycle. Clear? So here in this case where the four carbon compound is getting converted into three carbon compound, and then this cycle will be known as Hatch and Slack cycle. ठीक है, Hatch and Slack cycle. एंड इन केस ऑफ कैम अगेन C3 और C4 दोनों ही होता है. ठीक है, इसमें भी C3 C4 दोनों होगा, C4 में भी C3 C4 साइकिल दोनों होंगी, C3 में ओनली C3 साइकिल विल बी देयर. ठीक है. ओके, आई होप बहुत ज्यादा नहीं हो रहा है ये, राइट? तो जस्ट जस्ट सी, जितना मैं कह रही हूँ कि इस चीज को याद करो उतना ही याद करो, दैट विल बी मोर देन सफिशिएंट. ओके, इन फॉर दैट, फॉर दिस पार्ट स्पेशली, इस पार्ट के लिए स्पेशली. ठीक है. तो स्टूडेंट, मोस्ट ऑफ योर क्रॉप्स आर C3 प्लांट्स. जितनी भी मोस्ट ऑफ द प्लांट्स ऑन अर्थ आर C3. 85% ऑफ प्लांट्स ऑन अर्थ आर C3. ओनली 3% आर C4 एंड 8% आर ऑफ स्कैम टाइप. तो जो C3 प्लांट है, यहाँ पे जो साइकिल है वो C3 होती है. C4 में C3 एंड C4 साइकिल बोथ हैपन्स. इन केस ऑफ स्कैम प्लांट C3 एंड C4 बोथ हैपन. ठीक है. बट जो स्टोमेटा ओपनिंग है इन सी कैम प्लांट, दैट इज इन्वर्टेड. ओके, दैट इज इन्वर्टेड स्टोमेटा साइकिल, ओपन एट नाइट टाइम एंड क्लोज ड्यूरिंग डे. ठीक है. अब ये स्टोमेटा है क्या? अगर इफ यू आर गेटिंग कंफ्यूज्ड हियर, व्हाट आर दीज स्टोमेटा? सो ऑन लीव्स there are small pores present. ठीक है. Now see, I have told you that leaves are absorbing CO2. How this absorption is happening? Okay, there might be some opening because plants do not have any respiratory system, right? So there might be some opening. So this CO2 get entered into the plant leaf through this opening, which are known as stomata. ठीक है, which are known as stomata. Now this stomata, if we'll see the structure of stomata, it is like this. This opening is surrounded by guard cell. There is guard cell which is surrounding this opening. Now this guard cell open and close based on the requirement, right? So they can close, they can just close based on the requirement. They can close this pore if temperature is very high and they do not want loss of water. Okay, so they can close when required, and they can open when the plant need CO2. When plant needs CO2 or plant need to absorb something or release something. Even the water, transpiration. What is transpiration? Loss of water through plant body. Transpiration happens through stomata. When there is excess water inside the plant body, that is lost through stomata only. Okay. So basically you can see these are the opening on the plant, on the leaves of plant, and it is there for absorbing CO2. It is there for absorption of something or release of something out of the plant body. Clear? and these stomata can open and close. Okay, they are open when something need to be absorbed, and closed when they want to store, when they do not want any, when they do not want anything to lose, right? They do not want to want water to evaporate or transpire from their body, or they don't want even uh, in this scam plant, what happens, ओनली ड्यूरिंग नाइट टाइम, क्यों यहाँ पे ये होता है, क्यों ऐसा होता है कि कैंप प्लांट में नाइट को ओपन होता है और रात को, सॉरी, डे में बंद हो जाता है? क्योंकि ये जो प्लांट्स हैं, दे आर फाउंड इन डेजर्ट कंडीशन, और डेजर्ट में क्या होता है, डेजर्ट में देर इज अ lack of water, so they need to store water. When they need to store, even they want to store water, they will not open these stomata, because when, as soon as the stomata is open, water loss will start. Okay, transpiration will start. Clear? So this is difference between C3, C4 and CAM. And I hope now it is clear. I request you all to just read this table once. Okay. Now, if you tell me what is the importance of this particular topic, you can keep it as low priority. Okay. You can keep it as low priority. Only examples are important. Only examples are important. Okay. Especially example of C4 and C3, they can be asked to you, because C4 there are only few crops like sugarcane, maize, sorghum, millets, which are example of C4. Rest are example of C3, your cereals, and uh, your succulents, cactus, aloe vera, crops that are seen grown in desert area are example of CAM plant. Clear? I hope it is clear, and if it is not, something is not clear, please let me know. Okay. If anyone want to ask anything, please let me know. Yes, Ashwin, C4 plant examples are important. ठीक है, I have told you na, learn example, just learn example, and little bit whatever I said, that what why they are called C3, why they are called C4. See, usually whenever I have seen PYQs, so there are very few times from when NABARD has asked, questions from core, I would say core agriculture, or like which is related to your botany. Okay, now this topic was whole of a botany part, not typical agriculture part. Okay, so it's very rare, but yeah, you should be prepared. So example of C3, C4 and CAM. What is the situation of stomata opening in these three cycles that happens? It is easy, right? C3 में C3 होगा, C4 में C3, C4, CAM में C3, C4. So you can learn this thing. That's it. Yes, Avantika. CO2 fixation is basically uh, photosynthesis only. Yeah, it is for the purpose of photosynthesis. Anything else anybody want to ask? Okay. Chalo. Moving to that, moving to the, I think this is the last basis of classification, which is based on special purpose. Special purpose. Okay. So students, there are some crops are sometimes grown for some specific purpose or some specific objective. Okay. So on that basis, we have this classification. First, we have is arable crops, or sometimes uh, they are referred by some names, like okay, if you want 2 minute break, I can give you, but please everybody have to tell me if they want break or not. Okay, so I'll leave you guys for 2 minutes, and we'll resume after 2-3 minutes. Okay, everyone, shall we start? Okay. Yeah. So we'll start with the classification of crop based on special purpose, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll move ahead. If anybody has any query regarding the previous topics that we have covered so far, you can just let me know. Okay, you can just let me know. Chalo. First is arable crops. First is arable crops. Now students देखो ये जो classification है, this classification is based on purpose for which we are growing crop, or sometimes what for giving names to particular crop, right? For the that particular purpose, like if we are growing any crop, like for say for example this arable crops are basically those crops where cultivation or land preparation is required, where we need to plow the land. Okay, now you will say, ma'am, every crop need to be, we need land preparation for all the crops. Okay. Mega, it should be there. Okay. Special purposes crop should be there. I think you need to just scroll up above and below. So, but it should be there. Okay. Yeah. So students, see arable crops क्या होती हैं? Arable crops are basically which are cultivated on plowed land. Okay, so there are crops where we need to plow the land, where we need to the soil plowing, or we need to prepare the soil before sowing the seed. So such crops are called arable crops. Okay, so all your annual crops, which include your cereals, sugarcane, tobacco, maize. Okay, they need to be for growing them we need to plow the land. Such crops are called arable crops. Okay, but sometimes students some land are managed, or some crops are like your forest crops. Okay, there is no need of plowing there. These crops are grown, right? So arable crops means basically this is a term given where we are plowing the land and then sowing the crop. And you might have seen, if you read your agri census report, there is given a data regarding arable land. Arable land means the percentage of area that is plowed or that is managed for growing the arable crops. Okay, where we need to plow the land or make the seed bed for in order to grow crops. So that is your arable crops. Next we have is aromatic crops. Now students, aromatic crops is itself understood from the word that crops that has some kind of aroma. Okay, so basically these crops have some kind of volatile substance which are aroma, and we grow these crops for these aromatic purposes, right? So your lemongrass, citronella, patchouli, and mint. These are the example of aromatic crops. Next is augment crop. Next is augment crops. So these crops are basically grown to supplement the yield of main crop. Okay? Sometimes what farmer grow two crops, right? One crop is main crop and next crop is the augment crop. Now this augment crop, what it does basically, it increase the yield of main crop. Like for example, here Japanese mustard and berseem example is given. So if you just sow berseem, okay, if you just sow berseem, for example, if the yield of berseem is 10 quintal, okay, from 1 to 10 quintal per hectare. But if you sow berseem plus jasmine mustard, so the yield increases to 12 quintal per hectare. So what this jasmine mustard has done, it has increased the yield. It has increased the yield of berseem from that particular piece of land. So this Japanese mustard will be called as augment crop. Augment crop. Clear? So these terminologies should be clear to you. Okay. Ritik, why? Please write the whole. आप आदित्य प्लीज आप अपना क्वेश्चन पूरा लिखो, क्या कैसे होता है, आई एम नॉट गेटिंग द थिंग। ओके ओके आदित्य, आदित्य देखो ऑगमेंट क्रॉप क्या है, ऑगमेंट क्रॉप्स आर बेसिकली क्रॉप्स दैट हेल्प्स इन इंक्रीजिंग द यील्ड ऑफ मेन क्रॉप। ओके, दैट हेल्प्स इन इंक्रीजिंग द यील्ड ऑफ मेन क्रॉप। ठीक है, दीपजोत ऑगमेंट क्रॉप डज नॉट हेल्प इन एक्सीडिंग द रेवेन्यू, दैट इज कंपेनियन क्रॉप। ठीक है, रेवेन्यू अगर कोई बढ़ा रही है तो दैट इज कंपेनियन क्रॉप। सी आई एम गोइंग टू टेल यू ईच थिंग हियर, यू नीड टू बी लिटिल बिट पेशेंट। ओके सो, और दीपजोत ओके ऐसा क्यों होता है, देखो दीपजोत, द थिंग इज दैट द ऑगमेंट क्रॉप मेक द you know conditions more suitable for बरसीम to grow. बेसिकली व्हेन यील्ड ऑफ बरसीम इज इंक्रीज, जब बरसीम की यील्ड इंक्रीज हो रही है, इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है कि देर इज सम सपोर्टिंग फैक्टर। ठीक है, अगर सिर्फ बरसीम ग्रो कर रही थी तो यील्ड आ रही थी, बट वो उतनी नहीं थी, राइट, जैसे जितनी कि हम ऑगमेंट क्रॉप के साथ मिलती है। तो ऑगमेंट क्रॉप क्या करती है, बेसिकली वो कुछ सपोर्टिंग फैक्टर्स को हेल्प करती है, बरसीम को हेल्प करती है ग्रो करने में, राइट। उसको यू नो एक पर्टिकुलर एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशन प्रोवाइड करती है अराउंड बरसीम, जिससे बरसीम की प्रोडक्शन बढ़ जाती है। देयर कैन बी सो मेनी रीजंस। ओके, लाइक फॉर से ऑगमेंट क्रॉप इन सम केसेस कैन हेल्प इन रिड्यूसिंग मॉइस्चर लॉस फ्रॉम द फील्ड। ठीक है, तो मॉइस्चर बढ़ेगा, ऑब्वियसली यील्ड बढ़ेगी, राइट। और न्यूट्रिएंट बढ़ा देती है तो न्यूट्रिएंट बढ़ेगा, ऑब्वियसली मॉइस्चर विल इंक्रीज। समटाइम्स पेस्ट कंट्रोल करती है। तो ऑगमेंट क्रॉप के पर्पस बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं, राइट, एंड रीजंस बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं। बट अगर ऐसा कुछ होता है, इफ वी हैव सच क्रॉप, दैट क्रॉप इज कॉल्ड ऑगमेंट क्रॉप, दैट इज द थिंग। क्लियर? Yes. Next we have is avenue crop. Avenue crops are what sometimes you might have seen are on the roadside. Some trees are grown. Okay, so these trees are grown to first they can be grown for defining the road line, or they can be grown for providing the shade to the people walking on the street. Right. So avenue crops are basically grown along farm fences or road. Such crops are called avenue crop. Okay, so whenever you see roadside trees, so they are also part of agriculture. It's not they are not part of agriculture, they are also part of agriculture, and they are grown there for some purpose. ठीक है, अजोला इज नॉट क्रॉप, ऋतिक, अजोला इज नॉट क्रॉप, राइट। हम यहाँ पे क्रॉप की बात कर रहे हैं। ओके, चलो नेक्स्ट इज कैच कंटिंजेंट क्रॉप। कैच कंटिंजेंट क्रॉप क्या होता है, देखो कैच क्रॉप इसका मतलब समझो कि स्टूडेंट्स, कैच क्रॉप क्या होता है कि catch when we are growing any major crop. Okay, but sometimes what can happen, like you are growing rice and wheat and you have a time in between, so you have quickly grown some other crop in between, so that if there is any losses in the main crop, you can you can compensate your losses. Okay, so basically catch crop क्या है, a quick growing crop incidentally planned and harvested between two major crop of consecutive season. Also it may be contingency crop grown replaced to the main crop when failed. So basically ये क्या है, contingency plan होता है, contingency crop होती है। If in case our main crop fails, then we have something from which we can get the return. Okay. Anup, yes, very good question. In augment crops, only the main crop yield will increase, not both crops. ठीक है, only the main crop yield will increase. Okay, next we have is, I hope catch crop is clear. Catch crop is means something which is like a contingent crop, or immediate crop that has grown, which is a small duration, just to make up the losses that has happened in the main crop. Like अगर main crop में for say rice आपने grow किया, rice में there is some pest and disease that incidents that has happened और losses हो चुके हैं, तो आप quickly उसके बाद कोई short duration pulse crop grow कर सकते हो in order to make up your losses. ठीक है, इसीलिए उसको catch crop बोलते हैं। नेक्स्ट वी हैव इज अ कंटूर क्रॉप। कंटूर क्रॉप क्या होती है, बेसिकली दीज क्रॉप्स आर ग्रोन अलोंग द कंटूर लाइन। समटाइम्स वी हैव अ स्लोपी लैंड, राइट, sometimes we have slopy land, so it is not easy to cultivate these slopy land. So what we do, we form a contour lines, and on these contour lines crops are grown. So such crops which are grown on these contour lines are called contour crops. Clear? Yes. Next is complementary crop. Complementary crops. What are complementary crop? Basically, when your main crop and intercrop both get benefited. Like in your augment crop, your main crop was getting benefited, but in complementary crops, both the crops are being benefited. Okay, so when two crops complement each other, then also these two crops can be grown easily because they will benefit each other. Like your example is jowar and lobia. Okay, so jowar is getting, lobia is a pulse crop. So lobia is fixing nitrogen for the jowar, and jowar is helping lobia for climbing. Like jowar is providing support to the lobia. Okay, so both are being getting benefited. That such crop will be called as complementary crop. Then we also have a competitive crop. Now, when two crop compete for same resources, such crops are called competitive crops, and never ever the farmer will grow two competitive crops. Like if you grow two cereals, like if you grow this rice and maize together, okay, they both are kharif season crop and they are competitive nature, means they both are cereals, they are nutrient exhaustive. Okay, the term that we have uh, discussed previously, nutrient exhaustive crop, right? Because they both will exhaust nutrient, no one will help in replenish the nutrient into the soil. So when two nutrient exhaustive crops will grow, what will happen? There will be competition between these two crops. So these two crops are called competitive crops. Okay, and never ever farmer will grow two competitive crops together, because they then there will be huge competition, and the each one will be competing for the same resources. Clear? Chalo, next is fouling crop. What is fouling crop, students? Sometimes cultivation practices of few crops can increase the weed intensity in the field. Okay, like for example, there are two methods of sowing rice. Okay, राइस है, राइस की there are two method of sowing. First is direct method and first next is transplanting. ठीक है, so direct method में क्या होता है? We just take seeds of rice and we directly broadcast seed on the field, right? This is direct method of sowing rice. In case of transplanting, what we are doing, we are properly puddling the soil. We are creating mud condition here. Okay, we are doing the water stagnation condition. We are making a water stagnation situation here, and then we are transplanting the rice. Then we are transplanting the rice. Okay. So in both the methods, see, crop is rice, but there are different methods. Now, in case of direct method, what will happen? We haven't done any kind of puddling. There is no water stagnation condition, just simply rice is growing. And on the other side, where proper puddling is done, water stagnation is there in the field, and then we have transplanted the rice. Then, in this case, what will happen? Okay, you tell me, in which case weed infestation will be less? Okay. Please tell me in which of these two cases weed infestation will be less. Less. Very good. And can you tell me the reason also? Okay, you have tell me in the plant transplanted one. Okay, very good, Ashwin. Anybody else? What is the reason then? Why there will be less weed infestation in the transplanting? Okay, ठीक है, ठीक है. वेरी गुड साइक. ठीक है, तो आई थिंक you know the gist, right? So the thing is that weed seed will not be able to survive here due to the anaerobic condition, due to the lack of oxygen. Here water is there, right? Water is standing on the field, so there will be no aeration, no oxygen for weed seed to survive, so weed infestation will be less. But in this case where direct sowing is there, right, so there is enough space for weed to grow. So this practice where we have directly sown the rice, this will be called as fouling crop, and this practice of growing rice crop has increased the weed infestation. Okay, so such crop will be called as fouling crop. Clear? I hope it is clear. Very good, Tushar. Okay, Tushar has also given the answer. Next question is, sorry, not question. Next is mulch crop. Okay, what are mulch crop? Basically, mulch crop are those crop which help in conserving soil moisture. ठीक है, understand whenever you see this term mulch, ठीक है, जहां पे भी ये mulch term आता है, mulch means something that is covering something that is covering the soil surface, okay, and it is helping in preserving soil moisture. That is mulch. Now, this mulch can be natural, that mulch can be artificial. You might have seen sometimes farmers are using plastic mulch. Okay, black polythene or plastic like thing is used to cover the soil. Okay. Now, the purpose of mulch is to just conserve the water and soil, conserve water and soil, because if covering is there, soil erosion will be not there, right? If there is any covering, it will help in reducing water losses from the soil, right? Evaporation will be less, so water losses will be less. So mulch crop kya hoti hai? When we grow any crop for covering the land so that our soil and water can be conserved, such crops are called mulch crops. Okay. Basically, crops which have more foliage, means that have more leaf area or vegetative part, they can cover the field quickly. So such crops are grown as mulch crops. Clear? Chalo. Next is a stimulate crop. What are stimulate crops? So students, there are some crop which affect. Yes, Ritik. But if any crop is grown for reducing the weed seeds, that will be called a smoother crop. Okay, we'll come to that. Okay, stimulate crop are basically crops that stimulate human body. So tobacco, opium, such crops are there which affect the nervous system of humans and are called stimulate crop, right? Then we have supplementary crop. So students, there are some crop which are neither complementary nor competitive. Means ना वो एक दूसरे को बेनिफिट करेंगी ना वो एक दूसरे को हार्म करेंगी, तो such crop will be called as supplementary crop. And we can also grow such crop together because they are not there is no effect on any of the crop, right? So if there is no complementary and no competitive effect, such crop will be called as supplementary crop. Clear? No, see, Gautam, when we are saying paddy straw, okay, paddy straw, it is not living, first of all, and we are using straw of paddy for mulch. So it is not a crop. But when crop is grown, when you are, growing cowpea for say, you have just grown cowpea in order to cover the soil, then that cowpea will be called as mulch crop. Paddy straw is straw, not a crop. Okay. Okay, next we have is tuck crop. What are tuck crop? Tuck crop are basically those grown uh, for the transportation in distance market. So students, basically tuck crop क्या होती है? जितनी भी आपकी vegetable crops होती हैं, because they need to be harvested and they need to be quickly taken to the market before they get spoiled, right? So growing one or more vegetable crop on large scale for fresh shipment to distance market are called truck crop. So आप इसको you can learn it like that. Trucks are required to take crop from one place to another place. So such crops are called truck crops. ठीक है? Okay, next we have is a trap crop. Okay, important है. What are trap crops? So students, sometime we need to protect our main crop. ठीक है? Sometimes we need to protect our main crop. So for protecting our main crop, what we do, we grow another crop which is known as trap crop. Like for example, here we have example of cotton. ठीक है? Cotton is our main crop, and we need to protect this cotton from cotton red bug. Cotton red bug is something which is reducing the yield of our cotton. So what we'll do in order to protect our cotton crop, we will grow ladyfinger at the boundary of this cotton field. Okay. So what will happen? This red cotton bird will feed on ladyfinger. It will feed on ladyfinger, and this ladyfinger will act as a trap crop for this cotton red bug. So such crop are called trap crops. Okay. 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 I hope it is clear. Next is smoother crop. What are smoother crops? So students, when crops are grown for suppressing the weed, okay, sometimes we grow crop in order to suppress the weed, because any crop that can cover the soil surface quickly and can, provide, can create unfavorable condition for weed growth, such crop will be called as smoother crop. Okay, such crop will be called as smoother crop. Next we have is a paired row crop. What is paired row crop, students? Here it is just a practice. Okay, it is just a practice. Usually we go for sowing crop likewise, but in paired crop what we do, we omit this third line. What we do, we grow in we grow in parallel paired rows. Okay, basically third line is removed from here and we get a paired row. So such crops are called paired row crops. Okay, so there are different reasons why this is done. So basically this space which is in between can be utilized for storing moisture. Okay, and whenever irrigation is given, the water can go down into the soil. Water can get stored in this area and later on can be taken by the crop. Clear? Next we have is a Pera and Utera, very important. It is also known as relay crop. So basically students here in Pera Utera, what happens? We grow crop before harvesting of the previous one. We have rice crop standing on the field. Okay. Now this rice need to be harvested after 10 to 15 days. Okay, we have 10 to 15 days still left to harvest this rice. What we'll do, we will grow another crop like Lithyrus. Lithyrus is grown. ठीक है, Lithyrus seed is grown in is distributed in between the rice crop so that जब तक ये राइस की हार्वेस्टिंग होती है तब तक लेथाइरस कैन ग्रो टू सम एक्सटेंट. ठीक है, इट इज डन बेसिकली टू यूटिलाइज द मॉइस्चर दैट इज ऑलरेडी प्रेजेंट इन सॉइल. राइस तो आ गया अपनी हार्वेस्टिंग स्टेज पे, राइट? राइस इज इन द हार्वेस्टिंग स्टेज. अब क्या होगा कि जो मॉइस्चर अभी सॉइल में है उसको यूटिलाइज करने के लिए हम दूसरी क्रॉप ग्रो कर देते हैं. ठीक है, सो दैट एट द टाइम व्हेन राइस इज हार्वेस्टेड वी हैव अनदर क्रॉप रेडी ऑन द फील्ड. ठीक है, वी हैव अनदर क्रॉप दैट इज रेडी ऑन द फील्ड. क्लियर? Now next we have is nurse crop. Next we have is nurse crop. What is nurse crop? Sometimes students, some crops are grown for nourishment. Okay, sometimes crops are grown for the nourishment purpose. So like protecting other crop from the frost, insolation or high wind velocity, such crops are called nurse crop. ठीक है? Such will be called as nurse crop. Okay, lay crops I have explained to you already. What are lay crops? So when we grow grasses, legumes, or mixture of grasses or legumes in order to protect soil and moisture. Also later on, these grasses and legumes are used to feed livestock. Also, such crops will be called as lay crops. ठीक है? Yes, Pera and Utera is relay crop only. ठीक है? It is relay crop only. Okay, Ashwin, see, trap crops are basically to trap pest and disease. Objective here is to just trap pest and disease. But nurse crop can is for the nourishment purpose, like for the providing shade or providing protection. So such is the objective of nurse crop. ठीक है, तो nurse crop का objective दूसरा है, trap crop का objective दूसरा है. ओके ऋतिक, आप किसके एग्जाम्पल पूछ रहे हो? Okay, so next we'll move ahead to the next crop, which is border crop. What is border crop? Students, when we have a crop in order to, in order to prevent the trespassing animals. ठीक है? In order to prevent the trespassing animals. So, okay, nurse crop. Sometimes देखो ऋतिक, we grow टॉल क्रॉप्स. ठीक है, कभी कभी क्या करते हैं हम, कुछ टॉल क्रॉप्स को ग्रो करते हैं शॉर्ट क्रॉप्स के साथ. अब जो ये शॉर्ट क्रॉप्स होती हैं, एग्जाम्पल राइट नाउ एग्जैक्टली आई कैन नॉट रिमेम्बर द एग्जैक्ट एग्जाम्पल टू गिव यू, बट राइट जस्ट understand when there is a shade loving crop, when we grow this shade loving crop with some other crop that is providing shade to that particular crop, now that crop that is providing shade to the shade loving crop will be a nurse crop. Clear? Okay. uh, अक्षय, ले क्रॉप देखो, ले क्रॉप क्या होती है? इट इज द मिक्सचर ऑफ ग्रासेस एंड लेग्यूम्स. ठीक है, ग्रासेस और लेग्यूम्स का मिक्सचर होता है. एंड द पर्पस ऑफ ले क्रॉप इज टू कंजर्व सॉइल एंड वाटर, एंड ऑल्सो दिस इज यूज टू फीड लाइफ स्टॉक. ओके. चलो गार्ड क्रॉप के लिए आई होप आई हैव टोल्ड यू कि व्हेन वी ग्रो एनी क्रॉप इन ऑर्डर टू प्रिवेंट ट्रेसपासिंग एनिमल्स, ठीक है, जो भी ट्रेसपासिंग एनिमल्स हैं उससे अपनी क्रॉप मेन क्रॉप को प्रिवेंट कर बचाना है, देन वी ग्रो फॉर गार्ड क्रॉप. सो सम थॉर्नी क्रॉप्स लाइक safflower they can be grown as a guard crop in order to protect the main crop. ठीक है. Chalo, with that, we have completed your classification based on special purpose. Now, students, there are some famous name given to some crops, and once the question was asked to you regarding 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 I don't remember exact question, but it was something around ki this particular crop is famously known as, or which of the following crop is known by this thing, right? So yes, white gold. White gold was asked to you, and the answer was cotton, right? So for that purpose, just remember these important terms. So king of cereal is wheat. Queen of cereals is maize. King of coarse cereals is sorghum. King of pulses is chickpea. Queen of pulses is pea. King of oilseed is groundnut. King of fodder crop is berseem. Queen of fodder crop is lucerne. Golden fiber is jute. White gold is your silver, or silver fiber is your cotton. ठीक है, white gold और silver fiber is cotton. एंड वेजिटेबल मीट इज काउपी. ठीक है, काउपी को वेजिटेबल मीट इसलिए बोलते हैं बिकॉज काउपी इज रिच इन प्रोटीन, मीट इज रिच इन प्रोटीन, राइट? सो अमंग ऑल वेजिटेबल, अमंग ऑल क्रॉप्स, काउपी इज रिच इन प्रोटीन. हाईएस्ट परसेंटेज ऑफ प्रोटीन इज फाउंड इन काउपी. दैट्स व्हाई इट्स कॉल्ड वेजिटेबल मीट. क्लियर? क्लियर? ओके. So students, now we'll move ahead to the next topic, which is crop production. So students, when we talk about crop production, there are several steps that need to be followed. Okay, starting with, see guys, I we do not have time to repeat things so many times. Okay, ठीक है, अभी we have less time left and so much to cover. Also, I have to give you questions also. So I request you all to please, if you can ask your query at the end. Okay, queries हम end में लेते हैं. Otherwise, it is interrupting session and it is getting late. Okay, so all those who have queries, please note it down. I'll answer them at the end. ठीक है? Okay, Vaishnu, I'll just confirm it. Okay. King of oilseed. I think it is groundnut. If it is written sesame, so we need to correct it. I'll just look into the summary sheet. If there is a correction required, I'll correct it and upload it by today. Okay. Okay. So coming to the crop production. So yes, yes, I think Sarika is right. Sesame is queen of oilseed. So I'll just confirm it and let you know. Okay. Coming to the crop production part, so there are different steps of crop production. First is preparation of soil. So in preparation of soil, what we do the plowing and tillage thing, which we are going to discuss in detail in the coming slides. Then is sowing of seed. Okay, once the soil is prepared, then we place seed in the soil, which we are going to deal in the seed and sowing chapter. Then we have is irrigation again. After sowing the seed, irrigation should be given so that seed can germinate and the plant can grow and have enough supply of water, right? Then we apply manure, fertilizer, and pesticide in order to help plant grow in a better way and get maximum yield. Also prevent pest and disease, right? Then we protect the crop till harvesting, and then at time of maturity, crop is harvested, right? And then once after crop is harvested, then we go for post-harvest management and storing of the crop. So this is the general procedure of crop production. Okay. So today in this particular lecture, we are going to discuss in detail about the preparation of soil. So preparation of soil, basically first we need to understand three steps. First is plowing and tillage, then we have leveling, and then we have manuring, right? So first thing first we do is that we plow the land. Okay, if we have the land, if we have this area, field, what we need to do? We need to plow it. We need to turn the soil. Okay, plowing, tillage is done. So basically the difference between plowing and tillage is that plowing is just a first operation that is done. Means plowing is removing all the vegetative material from the field and opening up the field. But when we say tillage means stepwise, or this in a scientific way plowing is done. In the scientific way we are preparing the soil. So for tillage, we go for different steps that we are going to discuss. Okay, so plowing is a generic term, you can say, and tillage is when the scientific manipulation of soil is done. When the scientifically we are manipulating the soil or opening the soil, that is the term given for tillage. Okay. Next we have is leveling. So once plowing and tillage is done, then we level the field. Okay. So we have opened the soil. So after that, field need to be leveled. Leveling क्यों जरूरी है? Because if the field will not be leveled, like for say field is like this. So when we sow the seeds, some seeds will grow here, some seed will grow here. So there will be uneven sowing of seed. Also, if we irrigate the field, there will be some area where irrigation water will not reach, right? So it's very important to level the field so that we get the uniform population, uniform density of plants, as well as the irrigation or activities, cultivation activities that we are doing are uniform all over the field. Okay. Also, students, third step is manuring. Manuring में what we do, we add manure. Basically, the manures are nutrient-rich substance that is added to increase the nutrient status of soil. So at times when plant need nutrient, they can absorb it from the soil and can grow well. Clear? So this is the basic preparation of soil. Now let's understand about tillage, which is the first step in detail. So tillage is what? Tillage is derived from a Anglo-Saxon word which is tillion or tolian, which means to plow and prepare the soil for sowing the seed. Okay? So you have to learn here the origin of word tillage, which is an Anglo-Saxon word which is tillion or tolian, which means to plow or prepare the soil. Clear? Jethro is known as father of tillage. Important hai, you can learn the name. And tilth, there is another term which is tilth, which is again important. So once tillage is complete, once the entire tillage operation is completed, after that the condition of physical condition of soil that we see is known as tilth. Okay? Once entire tillage process is complete, then at the end the physical condition at that particular point of time that we see the soil will have is known as tilth. Okay? So basically result of tillage is tilth. Okay, coming to the types of tillage. So students, tillage has been divided or differentiated into classified on different bases. First base is with respect to crop. Okay, whether we are doing tillage before sowing the crop or after sowing the crop. Okay, that is the first basis. Next is whether we are doing this tillage operation during the season or during the off season. Okay. Then third is based on farming, whether we are doing conventional tillage or conservation tillage. Okay. Now let's see all these type of tillage in detail. And again, this whole topic is very important. Questions have been asked from here. Okay. So first is on the base of time with respect to crop. So first let us understand what is this classification. Okay. So based with respect to crop, before first we have is a preparatory cultivation. Now let's understand this preparatory cultivation in detail. In preparatory cultivation, there are three steps. Okay, there are three steps. First we have is a primary tillage, next we have is a secondary tillage, and third we have is a layout of seed bed. Okay, third we have is a layout of seed bed. So what is this primary tillage? Primary tillage is first step where we are breaking hard compact soil into clods. Okay, initially when you go to the field, you will see the soil is very hard, the soil is very compact. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to break this hard compact soil into clods. So for that we will run tillage implements. Okay, and it will break this soil into hard soil into clods. Now this was the question asked to you in the examination also. Okay, what is the step called where the compact soil is converted into clods? So that is the very first step, which is called as primary tillage. Okay. Now after primary tillage comes secondary tillage, where all these clods, this is the second step, where clods are converted into well pulverized soil. What is well pulverized soil? Basically the fine soil that we need at end where we are going to sow seed. Okay. So second step is when hard soil, hard field is hard compact field is converted into clods.
So clods are converted into well pulverized soil in case of secondary tillage operation. And third step is layout of seed bed. Now, once we have got fine seed or not seed, fine soil, what we'll do? Third step will be like this is our field and this clods are converted into fine soil. Then we will make a layout. We will make a layout like where we want to sow the seed. Okay, we'll make a layout. At this point we want to sow the seed, or at this point we don't want to sow the seed, whatever, right? So layout is made. That is called layout of seed bed. सीड बेड आप बनाओगे, सीड बेड का लेआउट बनाओगे कि कहाँ पे आप सीड सो करना चाहते हो. ठीक है. सो प्राइमरी इज व्हेन हार्ड सॉइल इज कन्वर्टेड इनटू हार्ड कॉम्पैक्ट सॉइल इज कन्वर्टेड इनटू क्लॉड्स. In secondary, clods is converted into fine soil, and then comes the layout of seed bed where you will form a layout where you want to sow the seed. Clear? Now, students, sometimes due to different reasons, primary tillage is divided or not divided. It is done for various objectives. Like when we have to sow some deep rooted crops, okay? Like for example, a cotton, okay? When deep rooted crops like cotton are sown, for that deep tillage is required so that we can open the soil to the depth so that the root of cotton can easily grow. ठीक है. Deep tillage is when uh, deeper layer of soil is tilled, okay, for the better root development of deep rooted crops. Clear? So that will be called as deep tillage. Then we have subsoiling. Subsoiling is what? So students, sometimes there can be cases that due to multiple rotation of these heavy implements over the soil surface, it will lead to the formation of hard pans. Sometimes hard pans means the soil becomes so hard that it do not allow water to infiltrate, it do not allow root to infiltrate, right? So we need to break this hard pan. Why? Because if this hard pan will be there in the soil, it will lead to the water stagnation. ठीक है, water logging हो जाएगी यहाँ पे, water will stand here, and the root part of the plant will not able to grow properly. Clear? There will be water stagnation. Then also this water will not percolate down into the soil. Also, if crop is deep rooted, then the root will not be able to grow, right? So subsoiling is basically the tillage operation when we are breaking this hard pan. ठीक है. Our objective here is to break hard pan. This is also a question what that was asked to you. This tillage operation that is you given that is done to break hard pan. ठीक है, तो that will be subsoiling. And year round tillage क्या होता है students? So year round tillage is done like when you have cultivated the crop, you will obviously go for the tillage operation and you will sow the crop. But after harvesting, just after harvesting also, you will go for tillage. Okay, because you wanted to, it is basically adapted in dryland areas. It is basically adopted in dryland areas. Okay, so what you will do, you will open up the soil, you will do the tillage operation after the harvesting, you will open up the soil. And why you are doing so? So if there is any rain, you can store the water from that rain, because if the soil will be compact, the water will flow over the soil surface. If the soil will have more pore space, then the soil will be able to store some kind of water, some amount of water, right? So that's why this air round tillage is done. Okay, so this is all about your preparatory cultivation. Clear? Is there any doubt in this? ओके, प्राइमरी वाला देखो आदित्य, जब आप किसी फील्ड को देखते हो, आपने कोई क्रॉप हार्वेस्ट की, लाइक हार्वेस्टिंग के बाद आप कोई फील्ड देखोगे, फील्ड इज वेरी हार्ड. जो फील्ड होता है वो बहुत ही हार्ड और कॉम्पैक्ट होता है. ठीक है, सॉइल बहुत कॉम्पैक्ट होती है उस फील्ड की. अब आप क्या करोगे? अगर आपको उस पर कोई बीज बोना है तो आपको सॉइल को पहले फाइन करना होगा, राइट? तो पहला स्टेप होता है कि जो हार्ड कॉम्पैक्ट मास है सॉइल का, उसको क्लॉड्स, क्लॉड्स क्या होते हैं? बड़े बड़े सॉइल के यू कैन से बॉल्स. ठीक है, उस हार्ड मास को आप क्या करोगे? हार्ड कॉम्पैक्ट फील्ड को आप क्या करोगे? ब्रेक करोगे. जब व्हेन यू विल ब्रेक इट, द द that compact field will get converted into big clods, okay, like big soil balls you can say. And then in secondary tillage you will further break these clods into fine soil. Clear? Okay, see, Elsa, hard pan is formed in the subsoil layer. Okay, hard pan is something which is not on the surface, it is found in subsoil. Okay, and the in secondary tillage, what we are doing is basically we are converting clods that are formed after primary tillage into further finer section so that we can get fine soil. Okay, understood? See, you might have seen this when you water any soil. What will happen? The soil will become what the clods will form. Clods will form. Big clods will form. And if you will allow it to dry, again these clods become very hard. Okay, so you need to break this clod in order to make soil more fine, in order to make soil more finer. And basically the hard pan which that is formed is in the subsoil layer, means it is below the soil profile, not on the surface. Okay, so basically, okay, you'll get to understand all this in the soil chapter. This is our soil. Okay, this is our top soil where organic matter is there and everything is there, right? So our crop grow on the top soil, but we have a soil profile, means below soil when you'll go, there will be subsoil zone, and the hard pan is formed in the subsoil region where the root grow. Clear? I hope it's clear now. Is it clear or not? Okay, okay, that's great. Chalo, moving to the next, which is after cultivation. Let's see what are the after cultivation operation. Because students, tillage is not just about, it is not just about the huge tillage operation that we see, that opening up of soil, primary tillage and secondary tillage. Tillage matlab whenever we are disturbing soil. Okay, whenever we are disturbing soil for any purpose is called tillage. So after cultivation, once the crop is cultivated, once the seed is sown, crop has emerged, right? After that also there are few operations that is done where we are interrupting the soil, where we are disturbing the soil. First is thinning and gap filling. What is this thinning and gap filling? So in field, what happens? In field, when you sow the seed, there will be few areas where plant density is more. Okay? And there will be few areas where plant density is very less. You will see due to less seeds scattered there in this area and more seeds scattered in that area. That can be a reason, one reason, right? So, but see, this is not something which is required because we want uniform plant density in the field so that each plant can get enough space to grow. Okay, and there are sufficient number of plant on the field to get optimum yield, right? So thinning and gap filling is done for that purpose, where we thin out excess extra plant from the area where plant density is high, and we fill out gaps where the plant density is less, right? So this is thinning and gap filling. Purpose here is to thin out extra plant, fill the gaps, also to maintain uniform plant density, uniform plant density. Okay, so this is your thinning and gap filling. Okay, I have told you in order to maintain uniform plant density, we need to thin out extra plant from the place where the plant density is more. Okay, and we need to fill the gaps where the plant density is less. Clear? So this is the objective of thinning and plant gap filling. Okay. Okay, next is weeding and hoeing. So students, what is this weeding and hoeing? Weeding is basically removal of unwanted plant from the field. Okay, so along with the crop plants, there are some plants which are not wanted, which is not required in the field, and we need to move. Okay, we need to remove these unwanted plants which are called weeds. Okay, which are called weeds. Weeds क्या है? Basically, weed students are the unwanted plant, because you might have seen that in on the crop field, along with your crop plant, it's not like that your field is managed to grow rice, only rice will grow. Okay, there will be other crops, other not crops, there will be other plants that will grow along with the rice, and you don't need these plants on your field. So such plant will be called as weeds. Okay, and removal of these weeds are called weeding. So when manually you are removing the weed, that is called weeding. And if you are using any kind of implement, like you can see on the picture, in the picture also, then that will be called as hoeing. With the help of any tool, if you are doing it, it is known hoeing. If manually with hands you are removing the extra plant or not unwanted plants, that will be called as weeding. Okay. Yes. So see what we can do if this crop is, if this crop is transplant. Usually this thinning and gap filling is done in the crops where the seed size is very small and we cannot go for transplanting, right? In case of transplanting, so we can maintain the distance, we can optimize the plant density. But in case like if you have seen how coriander grow, right? Coriander plant seed is very small, so you will just broadcast the seed over the field. So it might happen that at a particular area plant density is more, and at some area plant density is very less. So what you can do, you can thin out. You can just pluck out, or you can uproot the coriander plant from this area and you can transplant them here. So, okay? So you can do this gap filling here. So if the crop can be transplanted, you can just remove excess plant from here and gap fill to the area where there is a less plant density. Okay. Chalo. I hope this is clear. Now, with respect to crop, another practice that is done is earthing up. Okay, one more thing you have to understand. One more practice is there, which is known as earthing up. What is this earthing up? In case of earthing up, what we do, this is the plant. Okay, this is a plant. So at base of plant, we try to add more soil. Okay, you can see in the picture also, this is a potato plant and this farmer is adding more soil to the base of potato plant. This practice is known as earthing up, first of all. Next, why this earthing up is done? The reason can be that to provide support. Okay, earthing up is done to provide support in plants like banana, plants like papaya. So there, where support is required, earthing up is done. Then it is also sometimes grown in. It is also sometimes done in order to improve the yield. So in case of potato or tuber crop, okay, tuber crops like your potato, cassava, yam, so all those crops are tuber crop. So in case of tuber crop, when this earthing up is done, it'll help to better grow the tuber. Okay, the tuber size will be good. Okay, the quality of tuber will be good if we do this practice. So for that purpose also earthing up is done. Okay, this is also one of the practice that is done after the after cultivation or after the crop has emerged. Clear? Clear? I hope it is clear now. Okay. Next, other intercultural operations. So apart from the preparatory cultivation or after cultivation operation, there are some other intercultural operation that we need to know, like roguing. What is roguing, students? So I have told you about weeding. In case of weeding, what we are doing, we are removing the plants that is not required in the field. Okay. But sometimes we remove the plant of same type. Like for example, here I'll explain you with the, like, we have variety we have variety A and we have variety B. Okay? But when you have the seed lot of brinjal, for say, like we are taking example of brinjal here, when you'll have the seed lot of brinjal, okay, you cannot distinguish between seed of variety A and seed of variety B. Okay, so usually if you want pure seed variety, pure seed of any particular variety, you need to source it from the authentic source, right? But still there are chances that there will be some seeds of any other variety. There can be a chance, right? There can be a chance. Now you want only variety A to grow in your field. Okay, like variety A is of purple brinjal and you want only purple brinjal to grow on your field because it is fetching good price in the market, or you are getting good return of this purple brinjal. So what will happen? When you sow this seed lot of variety A, there are chances that there are some seeds of white color brinjal variety or yellow color brinjal variety, right? There can be some chances here. Now, what you will do once the seed has come out, and if there is any distinguishing feature, like you can differentiate, okay, this crop, this is not a, like this crop, this plant will grow purple brinjal, this plant will grow yellow brinjal or white brinjal. If you can distinguish, what you will do, you will rogue out the plants belonging to variety B and variety C. So what we are doing here, we are removing the plant of crops only, not unwanted plants. So, but as it belong to different variety, we do not require that variety in our field. So we are roguing it out. So this process is known as roguing. ठीक है? Clear है? What is roguing? Roguing is removal of same type of plant from the field. It is roguing. Okay? No, Ritik Das, sorting and grading is done after the harvesting of crop. Okay. Roguing is done in the field. Okay. Once the plant has emerged, seed has emerged, and after some time, when you are able to distinguish on the field level ki this particular plant is not of the variety that you wanted, then you will rogue out the plant in the field. And sorting and grading is done when you have got all the brinjals for sale, and now you are sorting that which brinjal is of good quality. So you are sorting and grading them based on the product that you have received. Clear? So sorting and grading is post-harvest management, basically. It comes in for post-harvest management. Clear? One more thing is there, which is topping. So sometimes students, what is topping? We want to, we want to increase more lateral growth. Okay? We want more branches, like we want more lateral branches than the vertical growth of the plant. So for that, what we'll do, we will top out or we'll pinch out this apical bud. Here, basically at the top, apical bud is there, which help in the vertical growth of plant. So when we want to increase the lateral growth so that we have multiple branches and in each branch we will get some produce. So this is removed. Apical bud is removed, which is known as topping, Yes, Tushar. The intercultural operation are carried out during the growth stage only. Okay? Yes, you're right. Clear? I hope it is clear now. Yes, Elsa. Yes, it is done when the why roguing is done. See, if any crop is grown for the consumption purpose, then farmer can keep all kind of plants, right? It can harvest all kind of produce from the crop. But if specifically we want a variety of particular plant, like if we want just a variety A, okay, and we are growing this crop for seed purpose, like we want just seed of variety A. So in order to make our seed lot more pure, we need to rogue out the variety, we need to rogue out the plant of other varieties. And if there is cross pollination or not, but yes, if we want our seed lot to be pure, so be it cross pollination or not, we have to remove the plants of other varieties. Clear? Other intercultural operation is propping. In propping, what we do, sometimes the plant, they need support. Okay, so if there is high wind velocity, like example is sugarcane, when they have grown enough, if there will be high wind velocity, these sugarcane plant will lodge off. Okay, so propping is done. In case of propping, what we do, we tie 5-6 sugarcane plant together in order to form a bundle. Now, once these bundles are formed, what will happen? They will support each other and there will be less chances of lodging. Lodging is basically felling of plant due to high wind velocity. ठीक है? Shrishti, pruning and topping is not same. Pruning is done usually in horticulture crops, and pruning is for removing all kind of trees, all kind of parts. Like it can be lateral branch also, it can be apical branch also, it can be any branch growing in any particular direction. So pruning can be done in any direction, but topping is done at the top area. When you are just removing the top area or apical bud, that is topping. Okay. Yes, nipping and topping can be same. Nipping and topping can be same. ठीक है? चलो. Detrashing is also another intercultural operation in order to in order to free our field from the trash, unwanted trash. So for that, all the dead material that is present in the field is removed, because this dead material can harvest some pest and disease, and that can infect your crop. So we need to clean the field. That is known as detrashing, and usually in sugarcane detrashing is done. Okay, you can see in the picture also. Chalo. One more thing is desuckering. What is desuckering? So students, here you can see from one point, two lateral branches are growing. Now we want only one branch to grow, because if there will be two branches, the food material will get divided into these two branches, and the produce, this is a tomato plant, so for say the produce that are growing on these two branches will be not of full size. So what we do, we remove out extra suckers that grow from that any particular point. So we just allow one branch to grow, and if any extra sucker grow, we remove out that sucker. So that interculture operation is known as desuckering, where we remove out extra suckers in order to effectively utilize the plant food and to get the good quality produce. Clear? Okay. So we have completed the first basis of tillage, classification of tillage. Next is based on season. So based on season, we have two types: on season and off season. So students, on season and off season are basically, on season is when during the season you are doing any tillage operation. Like in Kharif season, you wanted to grow rice. So for rice, you whatever tillage operation is required, so that will be a on-season tillage. During that season, you are doing the tillage when you are growing any particular crop of that particular season, right? Off-season क्या होता है? When there is no season means when you are not growing any crop, but still you are doing tillage operation. Again, this is a practice of dryland area. This is a practice of dryland area in order to conserve moisture. As I've already told you previously, we are opening up the soil in order to increase the pore space, so that the water, if it rains, the water can be stored in these pore space for the coming crop, for the succeeding crop, right? So this is the off-season tillage. Okay, only difference is on season and off season is on season. During the season, whatever tillage operation you are doing is on season. But after harvesting the crop, when there is no season, you are not growing any crop, still if you are doing the tillage operation, that is off-season tillage. Okay, so I think this classification is covered. Next is based on modern farming. So we have conventional tillage and conservation tillage. Now students, see what is conventional tillage. Conventional tillage is when we are doing all kind of, just give me a minute. When we are doing all kind of primary, secondary tillage operation, okay? So when we are doing all kind of primary, secondary tillage operation, uh, tillage operation, and everything is done in a scientific manner, yeah, whatever we have discussed so far, like first we are going for opening up the soil, breaking the soil into clods, then these clods are further disintegrated into fine soil, okay, and then fine soil is then we are going for layout of seed bed and everything. So primary tillage, secondary tillage, everything is done, leveling, uh, everything is done on the field. That is conventional tillage, means it is a conventional method of tillage, means which is usually done, that is the conventional tillage. But students, this conventional tillage has its own drawbacks, or we can say the conventional tillage is harmful, because see, we are opening the entire field. If we want to grow crop, if we want to sow crop, you know, here we have to open the entire field, no matter where we are sowing the crop. We are just opening the entire field, we are exposing the entire field. Now when we do such thing, what will happen? It will lead to soil erosion, because entire field is exposed, it will cause soil erosion, right? Second, what will happen? The microbiome that is present here, all the microorganism that is present here, that get disturbed, okay, that get disturbed, and it take time to restore that microbiome. And we are doing multiple tillage operations, so there will be compaction in the soil. Later on, it will lead to formation of hard pan in the subsoil, right? So there are so many disadvantages, or you can say drawbacks of the conventional tillage. Hence, scientific has come to the another form of tillage which is known as conservation tillage. So in conservation tillage, our prime motive is that we need to conserve soil. We need to conserve soil, and we will open the land to the extent where we want to just sow the seed. Okay, उसी वहीं पे हम लैंड को मैनिपुलेट करेंगे, या we will do the tillage operation to those areas only where we want to sow the seed. We will not expose the entire land. So what we are doing, we are conserving the soil. That will reduce soil erosion. Also, it will reduce moisture loss, because when we expose entire field, it leads to moisture loss due to high evaporation. Clear? So another approach of conventional tillage is conservation tillage, where we are trying to conserve soil and water. Also, we are trying to conserve soil microbiome. Also, we are just not exposing entire land, opening the land to the extent or to the areas where we want to sow the seed. Clear? So this is your conventional and conservation tillage. Now, students, conservation tillage can be done in different ways. Based on that, we have different types of conservation tillage or different concepts of conservation tillage. First, we have is zero tillage. जीरो टिलेज क्या होता है स्टूडेंट्स? जीरो टिलेज इज बेसिकली व्हेन वी आर नॉट डूइंग एनी टिलेज ऑपरेशन. ठीक है, यहाँ पे हम कोई टिलेज ऑपरेशन ही नहीं कर रहे हैं. सो व्हाट वी आर डूइंग, वी हैव अ लैंड. ठीक है, वी हैव अ लैंड. नाउ दिस लैंड विल बी फुल ऑफ ऑल काइंड ऑफ अनवांटेड प्लांट्स, वेजिटेटिव मैटर, राइट? एंड वी नीड टू रिमूव इट. देयर विल बी सो मेनी weeds and herbs going over this land. So what we do initially, before sowing the seed, we just kill all these weeds with the help of weedicide. Weedicide. Okay, we'll take a herbicide or weedicide, and we will spray that over the field, and all kind of grasses or weeds that grow over this field will die. Okay, they will die. So what will happen once these weeds are cleaned and all the grasses are cleaned? We have got a field where all weeds and everything is not there. And now see, the stubble of these weeds are also not removed. It's not like that if once these weed crops has become dead and we have got the dried stubble of these weed crops, we will not remove those weed stubbles. We'll keep that stubbles here, because that stubble will act as a mulch. It will help in conserving soil and water. It will help in conserving soil and water, right? So what we do, we will just open the land where we are sowing the seed. We will just sow the seed. We are not disturbing any part of the field. We will just open the area where we want to sow the seed. Rest fertilizer is given, but no tillage operation, any kind of tillage operation is not done. Okay, be it your primary, secondary, or after cultivation, whatever we have discussed so far, no tillage operation is done. Hence, it is called zero tillage or no till. Zero tillage or no till operation. Clear? So very important, it was asked to you in your previous examination. ठीक है, ये PYQ भी है एक, so याद रखना है. Next we have is stubble mulch tillage. So students, stubble mulch tillage का objective है to store soil, to conserve soil and water. ठीक है, so what we do, we keep this stubble on the field. Okay, we do not remove this stubble from the field. We keep this stubble on the field, and this stubble of which is of the previous crop, we do not remove it. We just keep it on the field, and this stubble will act as a mulch. Okay, and we will just open the soil where seed sowing is required. You can see here this stubble of previous crop is already here, and the crop is growing in line here. Okay, so these lines are open where we want to sow the crop. So that is the stubble mulch tillage, right? Next, we have the rotary tillage. So rotary tillage is basically, students, rotary tillage, what it does, it prevent multiple rotation of these implements over field. So what we are doing here, we are doing primary and secondary tillage at one go. Okay, there is no different primary tillage first done, and after that we are not going for secondary tillage. Rather, primary and secondary tillage is merged to one operation, and at one go we are doing both the operations. So this is also kind of conservation tillage, where multiple rounds of tillage is not there, right? Then we have another form of conservation tillage, which is strip tillage, where strips are open. Only strips are opened. Okay, strips are opened, stubble is kept on the field, strips are opened with the machine, and in these strips seed is sown. and the rest field is left undisturbed. Clear? Okay, then we have some special kind of special purpose tillage also, which is clean tillage. Clean tillage is usually done to clean the field. Sometimes all your stubbles, like we have seen in detrashing also. Okay, detrashing may we are removing the trash. So in clean tillage also, like in your orchard, where we have huge space between crops, so sometimes they get filled with the stubbles and all. So for that, we till that whole row, we till that whole row and remove the stubble from there. Okay, to in order to clean the field. Next we have is blind tillage. What is blind tillage? Once the, you can see here, potato crop is still on the field. Okay, over that potato crop we are going for tillage. So what we do, you have sown the potato crop. So what, after some times there will be weed grown, or sometimes what can happen, the soil can become compact. You have given one irrigation, you can see this area, it has become compact. So we need to loosen up the soil so that aeration can be there. And also if there is any extra weeds going in between these rows, so over the crop, once the crop is grown, over the crop when we are doing tillage, that is known as blind tillage. Okay, Vani, there is no difference between zero and no tillage, both are same. Okay, then we have wet tillage or puddling. So wet tillage and puddling is important. It is specially done for rice. Okay, rice is kind of a semi-aquatic plant. It need wet condition and it needs stagnant water condition for growing. So for rice, special type of tillage which is known as wet tillage or puddling, that is there, that is done. So in this type of tillage operation, what we do, we mix the field soil with water. You can see in the picture also, field soil is being mixed with the water and a mud like situation is created here. Okay, when this mixing is done, what will happen, the soil particle will come into the water. Okay, and there will, the pore space will get sealed due to sedimentation effect. The pore space will be sealed here. Bigger size particle will seal the spores first, then it will be further sealed by the medium size particle and further by the clay size particle. Okay, so this is the purpose of puddling, just to seal the soil surface so that water cannot percolate down inside the soil, because for rice we need standing water condition over the field. So we need to seal the soil surface. Okay, for sealing purpose this puddling is done. Once the soil is sealed, water will stay over the soil, and which is required for the rice. Clear? And students, this puddling is done with the implement which is known as puddler. Okay, this was question that was asked to you in your examination. Puddler is क्या है? Puddler is an implement used for doing puddling. Puddling आपके rice में होती है, और puddling में क्या होता है? We are mixing soil and water in order to create a stagnant water condition which is suitable for rice cultivation. Clear? Clear? So with that, I have completed your today's lecture. So we were supposed to practice question also, but today it's time is not sufficient. Now, if you have any doubt, you can ask your doubt, and tomorrow we'll take the question for today's session and further complete your chapter 3 also. See, Elsa, if you go for different primary tillage, and once you see, impact will be, the thing is that I totally get it. Rotary tillage is just to minimize the number of rotation of implement over the field. Means it's not like that once the tractor is doing primary tillage, okay, so open the land for the primary tillage. Then at the second go, tractor is doing the secondary tillage. In case of rotary, at one go, you are doing both primary and secondary tillage. Hence, you are saving number of rotation of implement over your field. So that will not lead to the soil compaction. Okay, so it's not typically a kind of conservation tillage, but hence we are, some way managing to, we are some way saving soil from being compacted. So kind of it is a conservation tillage. Okay. ओके अनन्या, chisel plowing and subsoiling क्या है? ठीक है, subsoiling is to break hard pan. Chisel plowing is again done for a to a greater depth, but in case of chisel plowing you do not open up the upper land. ठीक है, there is a implement that go deep inside the soil and open the subsoil. ठीक है, it will just do the tillage of subsoil. Upper soil is not disturbed. ठीक है, it's almost same. Chisel plowing and subsoiling is also almost same, but chisel plowing is going deep inside the soil. Okay, it is not disturbing the upper layer of soil. ठीक है, the tillage operation that is happening in chisel plow is at the subsoil level. But at in case of subsoiling, again the tillage is done to the extent कि आपका जो hard pan है, the purpose of hard subsoiling is to just break hard pan. Okay, break hard pan. And chisel plowing में we are doing the tillage operation in order to open up the subsurface of the soil. ठीक है, Ritik Das, summary sheet is already there in the course. Okay. Rishita, tomorrow I'll be starting with chapter number 3, farming system. So there is some part of this particular chapter which is left, which is the factor affecting crop production. So I'll be quickly completing that, and after that we'll try to complete your chapter 3. Okay. See, Akshay, zero tillage में we are not using any kind of, we are not doing any kind of tillage. ठीक है, जीरो टिलेज में टिलेज होता ही नहीं है. स्टबल मल्च टिलेज में यू आर यूजिंग इम्प्लीमेंट टू ओपन अप द सॉइल. ठीक है, देयर इज सम इम्प्लीमेंट विच इज यूज टू ओपन अप द सॉइल सरफेस. Ma'am, can you please tell how to get current affair notes PDF? I'm not able to find anything. Okay, Sumit Rajput, for current affair, PDF is provided under the current affair section. Okay, you have to open the current affair bundle. You will see scheme tab, report tab, and everything. You need to open the scheme tab one, and you will find the month-wise document that is there. Okay. Also, if you are finding difficulty in accessing the course, anybody who is facing difficulty in accessing the course, please contact to our support team. Our support team will guide you on that, surely, right? Okay, Athira, lay crop का purpose है soil and water conservation and feeding livestock. Mulch crop का purpose है to protect, to cover the soil for just conserving soil and water. ठीक है, यहाँ पे जरूरी नहीं है कि mulch crop को हम livestock को feed करें. iPad, no. Lay farming is basically where we are growing lay crops. So lay crops से जो farming होती है, that is lay farming. There is no difference. Shrishti, see, it is not any fixed order in which plowing, leveling and manuring is done. But usually this order is followed कि पहले आप plowing करोगे, फिर level करोगे और फिर fertilizer add करोगे. This is the usual method that is there. But yeah, sometimes people do manuring first and then go for the tillage. That is also correct. Okay. See, anybody finding difficulty in accessing the course, finding any PDF or anything, please contact to the support team. They will help you with this. Okay. Okay, Vijit, we will be covering weed classification also. Don't worry. Okay. See, Ananya, parallel cropping is nothing. It is when you are parallelly sowing two crops. ठीक है? Now, these crop can be complementary. These crop can be supplementary. ठीक है? It's just that the terms have been given to differentiate things. See, KK cropping intensity and irrigation intensity, I will be covering further chapters, so we'll discuss in detail there, okay? Yes, yes, in the silver course, all the classes will be provided, Jyotika. Okay, if it is not uploaded, Rishita, I'll ask team today. So by today, you will be getting all the PDF and recorded classes on time. Also, I'll request team, or I'll try to post these PDF that I'm teaching here beforehand. Okay, before the class, I'll try to post the PPTs so you can download before the class only. Okay, if it is not there, Rahi, I'll surely talk to the team. Please, if content is not uploaded, like PPT is not uploaded, PDF is not uploaded, or classes are not there on the on your course till now for the yesterday class. Right after the class, just give me hour or 2 hour. I'll reach the office and I'll make sure that these are getting uploaded as soon as possible. Okay. Okay. See, support team number is this one, Sumit. This 814620, which is showing on the screen. Okay, you can just note it down. Yes, Elsa, Pera, Utera, and Relo cropping are same. Same. Okay. मल्च क्रॉप थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन कर दो आदित्य। मल्च क्रॉप का पर्पस होता है सॉइल को कवर करना। और सॉइल को वो क्यों कवर करना है हमें, क्योंकि हमें सॉइल इरोजन को प्रिवेंट करना है और वाटर को कंजर्व करना है। ठीक है, लॉस ऑफ वाटर को कम करना है। मीट प्रोडक्शन बिलोंग दिस अश्विन। ओके। Meat production belongs to Red Revolution. Okay. No, you don't have to remember the books written by the famous people. See, for phase two, you need to first understand the pattern of phase two, ticket kind of questions that are being asked in your descriptive answer writing. And accordingly, whatever you have. Okay, Anurag has raised the hand. Okay, let me allow you all to unmute yourself. Then you can, unmute yourself and ask your query. Yes, Anurag, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your query.
हेलो, गुड मॉर्निंग मैम।
Good morning, Anurag.
मैम मुझे एक्चुअली दो डाउट्स हैं इस सेशन को लेके। मैम पहला डाउट ये है कि जो कंटेंट हम लोग अभी पढ़ रहे हैं और जो मैंने अभी प्रीवियस ईयर देख रहा था, तो उसमें जो क्वेश्चंस हैं मैम बहुत से हम लोगों ने अभी तक पढ़े नहीं है। जैसे
हम्म
कि कुछ में पूछ रहे थे कि राइस पडलिंग की कितनी डेप्थ में लगाना चाहिए या कितना
हम्म
टेम्परेचर होना चाहिए राइस वगैरह का।
हम्म
तो मैम ये सब
ठीक
हम
है।
लोग कब पढ़ेंगे और कहाँ पढ़ेंगे, ये डाउट था मैम मेरा।
ओके अनुराग, देखो जो आप पूछ रहे हो ना पडलिंग वाला, तो देखो पडलिंग मैं यहाँ पे समझा चुकी हूँ आपको कि राइस में हम पडलिंग करते हैं। ठीक है, फिर मैंने ये इसीलिए समझाया कि पडलर यूज होता है क्योंकि आपके पीवाईक्यूज में था। तो जो पीवाईक्यूज में चीजें आ रही हैं और जो एक क्लियरली एक्सप्लेन नहीं है कहीं पे, आई एम कवरिंग इट विद इन, मतलब थ्रू आउट द लेक्चर, जहाँ पे भी वो पॉसिबल हो सके वो कवर कर रही हूँ। रेस्ट रिगार्डिंग डेप्थ ऑफ राइस एंड टेम्परेचर ऑफ राइस। So if you will see, these are only once asked to you in your examination.
यस
ऐसे
यस
अगर
मैम।
yes, so ऐसे अगर आप याद करोगे तो there will be several crops और उन सभी crops का आपको याद करना पड़ेगा। And see, one thing I wanted to make clear to everybody that in ARD please do not expect, ARD में आप please ये expect ना करें कि अगर आपके 30 क्वेश्चन स्टैटिक के होते हैं तो 30 के 30 आपके कवर हो जाएंगे। There will be always 5-6 question. I have seen it myself. I have analyzed PYQs. There will be 5-6 question which is always out of scope of syllabus. Okay, so there will be always 5-6 question. You can see in 2024, 2023, 2022 examination, there are always 5 to 6 questions which are always out of scope of syllabus, and even we cannot predict कि from these topic questions can be asked. Especially if you will learn plantation and horticulture crop, you will see PYQs are very very vague. Okay, they are asked from anywhere. ठीक है, so please understand this thing that this particular subject ARD is very vast and it totally depends on examiner. Now if examiner is someone who is lenient and who have seen the syllabus and knows that people are not from agriculture background, that year the chances are that you will get more basic questions. Okay, but always be prepared that there will be 5 to 6 questions always every year which will be out of your scope of syllabus. ठीक है,
ओके।
so understand this thing, whatever
यस
you are reading, understand the concept, read it thoroughly, so that whatever like your, if there are 25 questions from your basic ARD or whatever we are covering here, you can solve it at least. Okay.
यस मैम, जैसे कि ये चैप्टर बहुत ही वास्ट है, तो
हम्म
इसमें मैंने नोटिस करा पीवाईक्यूज अभी जो पढ़ रहे थे, जैसे टिलेज जो है वो
हम्म
काफी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है इस चैप्टर का।
हम्म
इससे कंटिन्यूअसली क्वेश्चंस पूछे गए हैं कुछ ना कुछ
हम्म
कनेक्टेड वे में। तो जैसे
हम्म
ये अगर मैं चैप्टर कर रहा हूँ तो इस टॉपिक को पर्टिकुलरली टिलेज को और थॉरोली करूँ।
यस यस, जो
ओके।
टॉप जहां से आपको ये दिख रहा है ना कि हाँ क्वेश्चंस रिपीट हुए हैं, लाइक ट्रिलेज से बहुत क्वेश्चन रिपीट हुए, जीरो टिलेज से क्वेश्चन था, प्राइमरी टिलेज से क्वेश्चन था,
यस मैम।
पडलिंग से क्वेश्चन था, राइट। सो आप उन एरियाज को ज्यादा फोकस करो क्योंकि चांसेस हैं कि वहां से क्वेश्चन पूछे जा सकते हैं। बट अगेन प्लीज बी प्रिपेयर्ड कि हाँ कुछ क्वेश्चंस तो ऐसे होंगे जो बहुत ही आउट ऑफ बॉक्स होंगे। ओके।
यस मैम, टारगेट स्कोर भी मैं इसलिए 40 में से 25 तक ही कर रहा हूँ, 25-30 तक ही।
यस।
मैम मेरा और ये डाउट है कि जैसे हम लोग सेशन कंडक्ट करा रहे हैं और हमारे क्लासिफिकेशंस बहुत ज्यादा है इसी चैप्टर में, मैंने देखा जैसे कंटिन्यूस, कोई स्पेशल पर्पस है, कहीं बहुत सारे हैं। तो मैम मैं ये सजेस्ट करना चाहूंगा कि जैसे मैंने आरबीआई का फेज 1 का क्रैश कोर्स कंप्लीट किया था पूरा, तो उसमें जैसे हम लोग जितने भी करंट अफेयर्स बेस्ड करते थे ना, तो मान लीजिए अगर 10 हम लोगों ने इंपॉर्टेंट पढ़ लिए पहले, तो उसके बाद फिर 5 मिनट के लिए हम लोग के एमसीक्यूज रहते थे, तो उससे
ओके।
रिटेंशन पावर बढ़ जाती थी। तो इसमें इतने सारी क्लासिफिकेशंस हैं कि मान लीजिए अगर हम लोगों ने 5 टॉपिक पढ़ लिए, जैसे टिलेज पढ़ लिया, एक दो और पढ़ लिए, तो उसके बाद बीच में 5 मिनट्स के लिए अगर एमसीक्यूज होंगे तो रिटेंशन पावर बढ़ जाएगी। ताकि
देखो।
मैम, क्योंकि अभी मुझे मुझे पता है कि रिवाइज तो मुझे करना पड़ेगा,
हम्म।
लेकिन मैम अगर ऐसे ही करूंगा तो कम से कम मुझे 4 to 5 रिविजन्स लगेंगे। अगर
ठीक।
एमसीक्यूज होते तो 2 रिविजन्स में मैं इजीली मैम रिटेन हो जाता हूँ। ये
ठीक है।
डाउट था मैम, तो ऐसा पॉसिबल है क्या?
देखो अनुराग, मैंने ना, अगर मैं पीपीटी को आगे बढ़ाऊं, तो यहाँ पे मैंने इसके बाद क्वेश्चंस ही रखे हैं। तो ये पूरा जो जितना भी हमने अभी तक पढ़ा था, इंक्लूडिंग योर पी वाई क्यूज, और जितने भी हमने टॉपिक्स कवर किए हैं, उसके मैंने क्वेश्चंस ही रखे हुए थे फॉर द रिवीजन पर्पस।
यस
बट
मैम।
इट्स इज दैट टॉपिक बहुत बड़ा हो गया है, टाइम नहीं है हमारे पास ज़्यादा।
हम्म।
इसीलिए आई एम राइट नाउ स्किपिंग दिस पार्ट, कि हम क्वेश्चन सब कल करेंगे। अब ये चीज़ अच्छी
ओके।
है, देखो आपने पढ़ लिया है, आप अभी समरी शीट से पढ़ लो, खुद को
हम्म।
टेस्ट कर लेना, क्योंकि मेरा तो पर्पस यही था कि आज ही आपको पढ़ा के रिवाइज भी करवाना
हम्म।
है थ्रू क्वेश्चंस। बट इट्स जस्ट दैट टाइम ज्यादा हो गया है, क्वेरीज ज्यादा थी, तो इसलिए ये क्वेश्चन वाला पार्ट रह गया। अदरवाइज मैंने अराउंड 25 to 30 क्वेश्चंस रखे थे फॉर द रिविजन पर्पस। ठीक है।
यस
बट
मैम,
अगर
मैं
आप।
यही कह रहा हूँ कि अगर आपने क्वेश्चंस रखे हैं तो अगर ऐसा पॉसिबल हो कि जैसे बीच में 5 मिनट्स के लिए अगर आपके 25 क्वेश्चंस हैं तो अपन ने 10-12 बीच में कर लिए ना, तो मैम वो कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्ड होता रहेगा। मुझे
ठीक
ऐसा
है।
फील हुआ कि अगर 3 घंटे की क्लास में हम
हम्म।
लोग कंटिन्यूस बैठे बैठे सिर्फ सुन रहे थे, तो आई वॉज फीलिंग लाइक अ काउच पोटैटो मैम। कि बस
हम्म।
मैम पहले 1-1.5 घंटे तक तो बहुत अच्छा रिटेंशन था, उसके
हम्म।
बाद मैम स्लो होता गया, इसलिए बीच में फिर मैंने
ठीक
समरी
है।
शीट्स खोल ली, कुछ और पढ़ने लगा। मैम ये फील हुआ मुझे, बस ये मेरा
गॉट इट।
सजेशन था मैम।
गॉट इट।
ताकि
गॉट इट
मैम
अनुराग।
इंटरेक्टिव रहेगा। और मैम जी आप बिल्कुल सही कह रही हैं, मैं भी बाकी एस्पिरेंट से यही रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि जितने भी मेजर डाउट्स हैं वो लास्ट के लिए रखिए, क्योंकि मैम
हम्म।
फ्लो खराब हो रहा था बीच बीच में बार बार, इसलिए मैम वो फिर मजा नहीं आ रहा था मैम पढ़ने में बीच बीच में। क्योंकि वो अगर कोई और डाउट भी पूछता है ना, फिर दिमाग वहां पे चला जाता है, ना कि उस पर जो आप पढ़ा रहे हैं, तो
यस।
इसमें
यस।
कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट हो जाती है।
गॉट इट अनुराग, थैंक यू फॉर द फीडबैक फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल। और ठीक है, मैं कल से एक काम करूंगी, मैं जो आपने फीडबैक दिया उसी अकॉर्डिंग आई विल कीप द क्वेश्चंस, ठीक है, सो
यस।
दैट आपका रिटेंशन भी रहे और क्लास इंटरेक्टिव भी रहे और बोरिंग ना हो। ठीक है।
यस मैम।
थैंक यू सो मच फॉर द
थैंक यू सो मच
फीडबैक।
मैम, थैंक यू।
ओके, यू वेलकम। ओके, नेक्स्ट मोहित, यस यू कैन अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ एंड आस्क योर डाउट।
हेलो मैम, एम आई ऑडिबल?
यस यस, यू आर ऑडिबल।
मैम मेरी एक सजेशन ये है कि जो आप पीडीएफ से आप पढ़ा रहे हो ना, कैन यू मेक
हम्म।
इट मोर सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी? लेट से कि पीडीएफ में कुछ भी आपने मेंशन किया है तो आप
हम्म।
उसे क्लास में एक्सप्लेन कर देते हो, बट अगर उसके नीचे 2 या 3 लाइनर्स में हर एक इंफॉर्मेशन होगा, तो नेक्स्ट टाइम मुझे वापस ये वीडियो आके नहीं देखना पड़ेगा। मैं उस सेम पीडीएफ से नीचे 2 लाइनर में उसको रिकॉल कर पाऊंगा इजीली। नहीं तो मुझे
ओके।
बार बार वो टर्म गूगल करना पड़ेगा लेट से, क्योंकि मैम 3 घंटे की क्लास में है ना,
हम्म।
हमेशा फोकस नहीं होता है स्टूडेंट का। कुछ
हम्म।
पर्सनल काम आ जाता है, कुछ अलग इशू होता है, तो वो जो अटेंशन स्पैन है ना, वो कंप्लीट 3 आवर्स के लिए फोकस के साथ नहीं होता है। तो कुछ समझो लेट से मिस आउट हो गया हो, तो मैं वापस वो 2 लाइनर या 3 लाइनर रीड करके ही रिकॉल कर पाऊंगा, या फिर मैं सेल्फ अंडरस्टूड कर पाऊंगा कि ये चीज क्या है, ये टॉपिक में क्या था।
ठीक है मोहित,
ऐसा।
ठीक है, आपका सजेशन सही है। द थिंग इज कि जो ये पीपीटीज है ना, दे आर ऑफ अराउंड 90 और 80 स्लाइड्स। ठीक है। तो
यस मैम।
अभी मुझे क्या करना पड़ेगा, आई हैव अदर टास्क, अलॉन्ग विद अदर टास्क आई हैव टू मेक श्योर कि अब अगर मैं हर स्लाइड में ऐसे ऐड करती रहूंगी चीज़ों को, इट विल टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम। ठीक है, उसके बाद मुझे क्वेश्चंस भी ऐड करने हैं। तो राइट नाउ, या तो फिर आई विल डू वन थिंग, आई कैन डू वन थिंग, कि आई विल डायरेक्टली स्टार्ट टीचिंग फ्रॉम डॉक्यूमेंट इटसेल्फ। अगर आपको इस फॉर्मेट से अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, तो आई कैन डू लाइक, आपके करंट अफेयर में भी ऐसा हो रहा है कि डॉक्यूमेंट से आपको पढ़ाया जा रहा है, तो आई कैन स्टार्ट टीचिंग यू फ्रॉम द डॉक्यूमेंट, सो दैट आप डॉक्यूमेंट में सारी चीज़ें लिखी हैं, तो आप डॉक्यूमेंट से डायरेक्टली वहां से रिलेट कर सके हो कि मैंने क्या पढ़ाया, और क्योंकि वो सब कुछ डिटेल में वहां पे है, तो आई कैन एक्सप्लेन यू फ्रॉम देयर। सो नाउ यू गाइज हैव टू टेल मी, एवरीबडी हियर, whether you want this PPT format or document format. But yes, the thing that you are saying, that if I can include more content on PPT. So see, I'll
Yes,
try
ma'am.
it. I'll give my time. But 90 PPT में सब कुछ add करना detail में, it will take a lot of time. So this is something that we prepare before the classes, right? So अभी
Yes,
PPTs
ma'am.
बन चुकी हैं already. तो it will take time. और अगर मेरे पास time होगा, I'll try to incorporate, and rest. If you want, I can start teaching from the PDF itself, the summary sheet that we have. Now you have
No,
to
ma'am,
tell me.
PPT is fine. PPT is
Hmm.
better. बट वो
Okay.
एक्स्ट्रा इन्फॉर्मेशन एडिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन होता है तो आई गेस बेटर होता है ऐसा.
ठीक है मोहित, so I'll see what can I do about that. Okay, I'll try to incorporate things
या श्योर.
in detail.
थैंक यू.
Okay, moving ahead to the queries in the chat box. So venue, see, there are different things that can be done. Yes, sometimes along with the seeds also fertilizers are incorporated in the field. Okay, sometimes they are incorporated afterward also. देखो, incorporating manure or fertilizer depends, right? Sometimes along growing the seed they are incorporated, but sometimes they can be grown, they can be sown, क्योंकि fertilizer तो ऐसी चीज है which is required throughout the growing period. So after some period we need to incorporate the manure or fertilizers. Okay. SR Saho, see, regarding that you need to talk to some supporting. I'm not sure कि non merit section की classes मिलेंगी ना नहीं मिलेंगी, but I think crash course है, so you will be getting the entire crash course. Strip tillage क्या है सुजीत? Strip tillage is कि when we are doing tillage operation in strips. Okay, entire field is not tilled, rather strips are tilled, strips are open, and there we are sowing the sowing the seed. Okay. Okay, so regarding PPT or document, I'll see, okay, PPT is fine by most of you, so I'll try to incorporate then more content. Okay, if I can, I'll try. See guys, regarding if you are not able to access the course, please talk to the support team, because support team will tell you what all is there and where you will find all the document. You need to explore course. Please just explore the course. Open each segment, open each file, open each thing, and you will find each and every document. If you are talking about the PPT of this particular class or the classes that happened yesterday, if it is not there still, I'll make sure after 2 to 3 hours you will get it. Okay, by after 2 or 3 p.m. you will get it, because I need time. I'll have to go to the office, so it will take a time. So just I'll make sure. But tomorrow onward, I'll try if I can, upload these PPT by myself. So you will get before class only. Okay, you will get these classes with PPTs before class only. So if there is any further doubt, please let me know. Any further doubt, anything anybody want to ask? Okay, so no doubt, nothing to ask. Okay, I'll stop sharing here. And yeah, so that was about this class. Thank you everybody for joining. Just a request that if you can provide feedback, I'll share the feedback mail ID to you. If you can provide the feedback at this mail ID. So that will be really helpful for me and our team to understand how these classes are going. And we really need constant feedback from the student. So in order to understand whether the class was fine and everything is going well. So please do provide your feedbacks just after the class if you can, if you have time. Okay, that will help a lot. And from tomorrow onward, I have taken your feedbacks. I'll try to incorporate them in the classes. Okay, so that's all. Thank you for joining. Take care and all the best for your preparation. Do revise whatever we have learned so far and come prepared for the tomorrow's